Whoa. Love it. Here we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, Season 2, Episode 39, or shall we say the Milwaukee Bucks podcast today. Today, we're going to be talking about Damian Lillard being traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. We have a Heat fan, a Celtic fan, and two guys who don't give a shit. Should be a good show. I'm just kidding.
What?
I know you don't give I know you,
What?
Eric's over here like, wait a second. I know. He was wearing the Brewer attire, so I was trying to be like, priorities
well,
at the moment. Brewers.
Jesus, yeah, they aren't
Brewers.
doing well.
Why do we,
I just want to start out by saying I don't appreciate being banned in the chat because that's not keeping it clean.
The problem was the person saying keeping it clean wasn't keeping it clean. In fact, one of your chats didn't even get hidden and it says filthy-o in it. I'm just
no, because someone said they were keeping it filthy. So I said, hey, don't be keeping it filthy.
Yeah, you see, but by saying that, you're contributing.
You know what, Nate?
You're contributing.
I'm going to be keeping it nasty.
That's fine.
Oh, it took a turn.
All right. So today we'll talk about what a shocker, Nintendo Switch 2, and also sort of the shocker of the day, Jim Ryan's stepping down over at Sony and what that might mean for the future of the company, because it feels a little sudden, but we don't really know how sudden it really was. Only because they don't have a replacement. It wasn't like when Reggie stepped down and they're like, oh yeah, Doug Bowser's stepping in. No, they don't actually have a replacement for him right now. So quite interesting how that decision came to be. We have no idea because it was all behind the scenes, but we'll talk about that. And then we'll be taking questions from the chat. If you guys want to get questions in for our last topic, all you do is you super chat it in for as little as $2. Get your question in. We save it for the Q&A section. Unless it's extremely relevant to whatever we're talking about at the moment, then we might bring it up. But otherwise, we should get our podcast started the way we always do, introducing everyone. And what have we been playing lately? So let's start it with the Keep It Clean guy. All right, what have you been doing over there? What have you been playing lately?
Well, I've been keeping it clean, first and foremost. Always got to keep it clean.
So nothing rated above PG is in your playlist this week.
Yes. I actually, I forgot that I ordered it, but I got the Pikmin 1 and 2 physical on Switch. So I've been playing that, and then I was going to play Lies of P, but I bought it the day before Pikmin showed up at my doorstep. So I've neglected that, haven't touched it. Played a little bit of Pokemon, just competitive online battles as usual. A couple weeks ago I was playing Pokemon Stadium 2, haven't touched that since. On NSO. So not playing a ton this week, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Andres, what you got going on? And what have you been playing?
I haven't been playing much. I'm a fake gamer.
Who called you fake gamer today?
Hey, keep it clean.
Who called you a fake gamer? Look, I get shit.
No, I'm just messing around. I haven't played that much. I've played a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom. That's it. I've been I've been binge watching a particular show recently.
What show?
Suits.
Nice.
Me too. Yeah. I actually got through all 9 seasons.
Yeah, nice. I just started.
They have the first 8 on Netflix, and then they have the 9th one on Prime.
I've heard. Yeah.
Awesome.
No, it's pretty good. I like it. It's kind of like a more realistic Batman and Robin.
I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah. Never heard that description before.
It kind of makes sense though. Thinking back, I just finished it like 2 weeks ago.
They actually refer to themselves as Batman and Robin a few times. So I think they have
so many good references to other movies within that show.
Oh my gosh. Those two had so many. Yeah. Just I'll just say I hate to say it, the final season's disappointing.
Is it a finale season? Does it actually end?
Yeah, it ends. Yeah.
Okay, thank God. I hate
it. There's one thing about it that's really good, but the lack of returning cast is not.
Yeah. There's one thing. Yeah. But I mean, it's the fact that there has to be returning cast. It's also part of the problem.
Well, I'm in season 3. Don't ruin it for me, guys.
All right. Well, also, I had no idea that was Meghan Markle until I finished the show. I was like, oh, that's what she's famous for?
You do know her? That the one main woman in there is, married to the prince, right?
Yeah, Meghan Markle. That's what I just said.
Yeah. So that's really what messed up at the end of the show, basically. Was
she basically was supposed to keep it clean. She wasn't keeping it clean.
That's basically what it is. Anyways, I don't want to ruin it because obviously there's a lot of seasons before you get to that. So it's like
I'm just gonna pretend it's all honky dory. So
no, the show's amazing. It really is. I miss it. I wish there was more, but
you could just rewatch it.
Yeah, it's just I don't rewatch things that often.
I rewatch.
Listen, doesn't even replay old games.
I'm gonna. So we've had this conversation many a time, but I think for the shows and games that kind of really like leave an imprint upon you, like the ones that actually hit you, it's okay to go back to them after a few years and re-experience them.
It's okay to go
I
back
agree.
to them anytime you want. It's just not okay for me.
That's one of my favorite things to
It's
do.
a curse.
That's
You
why
know what?
I've watched Breaking Bad 7 times and counting, just
I've
because
seen Breaking Bad 3 times.
Well,
2 years.
I've done the same thing actually, Sumbro. But like, so one of my favorite things when it comes to old games, part of the reason I like to revisit them is because sometimes when I try to play a new game, especially like modern generation, like games coming out today, I have to pay so much attention and like learn the controls. And sometimes I feel overwhelmed trying to explore every nook and cranny. And sometimes with a game like Tears of the Kingdom, that's a really fun experience. But sometimes I want to shut my brain off
Yep,
and
there you
play
go.
something where I know exactly where to go. I can grind when I want, and it's just like comfort food for me, for the soul. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's
I'm
what
right there with you.
house is for me. Whenever I eat comfort food, I just play house.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I hear you there.
That's keeping it
for,
clean.
For me, RPGs,
That clean.
like a lot of RPGs in
Hey,
general,
that's
kinda
not
turn me
my
off.
name.
So like
Hey,
it's really tough for me to get into an
Keeping
RPG
it dirty.
because especially like whenever we like watching a town direct and they're like, oh, look at all the menus and all the stats and all the customization, and I just see, oh, that looks like a lot of work. I don't want to get into that.
That's what Xenoblade games look like every time they show it.
You take that back.
But you can't deny.
Well,
every
so
time they-
yes,
If you're
imagine
not
you
a fan of the
play
series or
Xenoblade.
you don't know about the series,
You
it
don't play
does look like a
Xenoblade, and
lot.
then you watch one of those debut trailers. There's so much shit going on.
sure. I mean, there is a lot going on. The combat systems are pretty deep, and there are several different things you want to kind of account for
And
to
it's not a
really
bad thing.
maximize.
It's just for like new players, I can see where it's overwhelming. Just
Yeah, and I guess the interesting thing about Xenoblade though is that it's beyond just the RPG stuff, right? Like it's a real time combat system. So and each one they make sure it feels different from all the others, and each one is like very deep and feels very satisfying once you get the hang of it.
yeah,
Especially Xenoblade 2, which is like the hardest to figure out.
yeah, that's true. All right, Eric, what have you been playing lately? I mean, you just found your Switch, so like,
yeah, no,
stop panicking about that.
Yeah, so nothing because I couldn't find my Switch till today. It wasn't for lack of trying to play. Yeah, I just couldn't find my Switch, and then I was texting Nate yesterday, and I'm like, did I happen to leave my Switch over at your house? Because I bring it over. I actually have it here today. And he goes, no. I'm like, what the hell? I had searched my room top to bottom, and then all of a sudden I walk into my room and look down on the floor, and it's literally laying right there. I'm like,
As if someone left it
Your
there.
room,
yeah, right.
pick your room up.
Yeah, not me.
Is
But
your room dirty?
no,
Keeping it dirty.
Keep it
over there?
messy. Is it messy?
Keep it clean.
keeping it clean.
That actually surprised. I don't know if I've ever been in a.
We all
clean
know
room.
where our Switch is because we keep it clean.
Maybe like after your mom cleaned it in high school.
Yeah, maybe.
That's fine if he's keeping it clean. I don't.
I just realized a Switch 2 feature that they should have.
Well, you'll be good that up in the Switch.
One of those iPhone style beep where it's at
Yep.
type things. Yep.
Yep,
That
that's
should be
it.
a thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it goes both ways.
How are
controlling
you
around
on the
fence
same
system.
wavelength right now? What just happened?
Well,
Because we're
Eric talked
smart.
about
Yeah,
losing his
yeah.
Switch, and it's a mobile gaming device. And Andre said, "I know a Switch 2 feature." That's boom right
Hey,
there.
Sandro
I
and
need
I-
my iPhone for my watch all the time.
Step brothers. It's happening right now.
No, him and I would be really good partners in law and suits. We would be like, we'd slay it. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
All right. So Eric, been playing anything?
No, again, not for lack of trying. I just couldn't find my Switch. So yeah, I tried to play games this week.
Hey, you
but
drafted a player for me
I
on
did.
Madden,
I did.
and he's the best player in my draft.
I did.
Thank
I
you.
win.
94 speed hidden running back. That's
Yeah.
right. Look out. Take the
Yeah.
league by storm.
Oh, guys, prepare to be hyped. Detective Pikachu comes out next week.
I
Next
don't know.
week.
Yeah.
I gotta play the 3DS one.
It
I have a
may
modded 3DS. Did you know it's surprisingly easy to mod a 3DS?
I
Cool.
need to do that to mine still. I haven't done it.
It's actually so easy, and you just get a 1 terabyte SD card, put the whole library plus DS and GBA.
Yeah, there's no reason for me not to do that. I'm glad you said that. Actually, that's going to be a project for this upcoming week.
Well, that's cool. So, Sombro, what do you got going on? One, I haven't seen you in like forever.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Not going to talk about behind the scenes stuff. That's you
Yeah, no. Thanks for remembering me, even in the long absence. I appreciate that.
I was texting you throughout it here and there. Like, yeah, I was just checking on my friends. What you got going on? What have you been playing? I know you've been playing something.
Yes, not as much as I want to, but I actually have a fun story, and it actually ties into replaying games that we love. So when me and my fiance
were going to the Bucks.
So when me and my fiance rolled the credits on Tears of the Kingdom, and no spoilers, but the final boss fight packs a legitimate punch in difficulty. And my fiance was not like, she's not like a core gamer. Like, she was into party games. She knows, the Mario.
I just didn't hear that.
Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, got it.
Legit hard final boss fight. And I mean, like, the part leading up to the very end, very legitimately hard, in my opinion. So she's got more
description.
Yeah. So
keeping it clean.
That's keeping it clean. I'm trying to live up to your standards, Jake. So we roll the credits on that, and then I realized, I'm like, you know what? Because she wasn't such a core gamer before. I'm like, you're ready for the next step. You got to play like a hardcore, challenging game that's going to make you like hate yourself, and you're going to have to get good enough to get past it. So we've been playing through Dark Souls Remastered together, which is a reason for me to replay one of my all-time favorites, in hopes that she'll get hooked into the whole Souls series, and I'll have a reason to replay all of them. And so far, past Ornstein and Smo, right now, past the whole what is it? The Forgotten, so the something fortress, a giant fortress with the swinging axes. It's like the true test of the game, and when the game really opens up and you get the warp after you beat that.
It's like right outside the giant walls that lead to the
the double boss fight. So that's as of last night, that's where we got to in that game, which has been great. Also, Jake, I noticed you mentioned Lies of P earlier. I played just the beginning portions of that game, and as somebody who is like, I mean, Souls games are at the top, all the way up there with Zelda and Metroid for me. And I'm very picky on Souls-like games. Like, I've played a ton of them that claim to be Souls-like, and the mechanics just never feel like quite on point enough. It feels like you die because the game messed something up, and that's one of my favorite things about Dark Souls, is it's like you die because you didn't do it right, or you have to learn the mechanics enough to get past what you're stuck on. Lies of P has a very, very similar feeling to a Dark Souls / Bloodborne, and I'm pretty impressed with it. Just beating the first boss and getting like kind of that payoff, I was like, all right, I might be in for the long haul in this game.
That's what I've been hearing. That it's not quite there, but it's so close. It feels so close. Really good compared to other like Souls clones. But I also heard that some of the customization you can get with like changing out your arms and stuff like deeper into the game gets crazy. So it adds something new that makes it really fun too. So I am excited to try it.
Dude, it's cool lore and story to it also. Like, I mean, I'm legitimately impressed by it. I'm not far enough in to say very much, but I'm impressed by what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play a Timothée Chalamet video game, so I'm excited.
Yep, definitely worth it. But yeah, that's it for me lately.
Nice. Then we get to good old me that nobody cares, but we'll just briefly mention a few things I've touched on this last week. A little bit of World of Warcraft, both the Dragonflight and Classic.
Nerd.
We're leveling in there. And my Mac puts Age of Empires 4 as well on my laptop here, because again, Microsoft won't bring it to Mac, you bastards. That's okay.
Games on Mac anyways.
People who care about their job.
Well, that's not keeping it clean.
Anyway,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me see. I played a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom this week on my Switch. I had some fun with that. Put a few hours in. Still just sort of going for all the shrines and everything and doing my thing, because I do plan to get all the shrines in the game, and I do plan to do all the side quests eventually. Will be 100%ing because I'm not going to do all the Korok seeds. Just don't really feel like it. What else? I also dabbled. I finally played F-Zero 99. It's fun.
I forgot to play that.
It's fun.
That's a lot of fun.
I busted out my Switch. I almost played it on the podcast last week.
I basically play like a couple races a night before I go to bed. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, have you gotten a dub yet?
No. Dude, people are getting too good at like too good too quick. I didn't get into it.
I haven't played for a few days, so
good. Yeah. But it's okay.
I get lucky and play at the right time and get matched with like people that.
Yeah, right when all the kids get out of school, that's the time. Show those F-Zero skills. Anyways, let me see. What else I play? I feel like there's a game I'm missing. I mean, I dabbled a bit in Madden this week, but I play that every week. I think that's it. I think I'm kind of just chilling, waiting for the next wave. You know, we got like
I mean, that's a lot of things to be playing in 1 week. Though.
Sega
little
coming
bit-
up.
little bit of this and that.
Starfield. That was the other one. I forgot. I put a couple more hours in Starfield.
Oh,
Did your
Nice.
game break?
What? Did my
Did your
game break?
break?
No.
Yeah.
Why would my game break?
Oh,
I've
heard
as,
some people
as
lose
you
their
know,
save
I'm one of
files.
the people that gave up on Starfield
Yeah.
only a few hours in, and again, to can't stress it enough. Don't think it's a bad game. Just could tell it was a very Bethesda game, and I just knew it wasn't going to be for me.
Well, I mean, it is made
What
by-
what I've heard, what I wanted to ask you,
Disagree.
Nate, is that like it's like the 10-hour mark on average, where everyone says, "Oh, it gets so much better. It really picks
like
up."
when
and
you get
opens up."
off-
Have you gotten that far yet? Or are you like getting
I'm about
close?
7 hours in. So
Okay, so you're like getting
or
close.
I'm
to
like
that.
in the home stretch of the tutorial.
Yeah.
Do you
got
see yourself finishing the game?
There's no such thing as finishing a game like Starfield. It's
There's
Getting the
basically,
end credits?
There's credits.
Main quest though.
I don't know.
Yeah, main
I
story.
don't know if I'll finish the main quest. To be honest.
Well, here's the thing. I've heard a lot of people say that like you want to finish the main story as quick as possible,
I've seen that too.
and then going around to other places is a lot more fun. But for me, it was like I just don't want to put in all that time.
Here's the thing. I'm probably not going to finish it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it. Like
That's fair, man.
it's gotten to the point that every video game that comes out wants 100+ hours of my time, and I'm just not going to give it. So
Yeah.
there's only a select few games that will get that time out of me. And for the most part, it's because I like playing such a wide variety of content that I'll play it as long as I'm still entertained here and there. And if Starfield ever gets to the point that I'm not as entertained or my desire to play other stuff is bigger, then it'll be dropped and I just won't play it anymore. That's the nice thing about Game Pass, though, is I don't have to feel guilty because I didn't fucking pay for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Game Pass is
Like,
nice. for
I
that.
didn't pay for it. So like it's not a big deal. if I
Speaking of
just
Game
not
Pass,
play it.
I think Liza P was on Game Pass.
That's
day
how
one as
that's
well.
how I'm
is it?
playing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, damn it. All right.
There you go.
Starfield might get dropped
Keep
now.
it clean.
Yeah, Starfield might get dropped now. Damn it.
Yeah. Yep.
I wasn't
Download it.
friends with Liza before. Okay. I think somebody told me that in the live stream too, and I just forgot. I should just literally during my stream now just go download it. Anyway, so yeah, that's a lot of stuff that I've been playing, I suppose. And again, I'm just waiting on the next baby. Sonic Superstars coming up, Spider-Man 2, Mario Wonder. We have a big month. I mean, Detective Pikachu Returns as well. Well, I'm gonna wait and see what the reviews are like on that before I pick it up. I enjoyed the first one a lot, so I'll probably enjoy
That's my goal is to pick up the first one for a little bit this week. I
Yes.
saw the movie, so I'm probably fine to just jump in the second game, but I like to play in order if I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the first one was pretty good, so I'm like, oh, the second one's probably good too. But I'm just gonna wait and kind of see what the reviews say.
Do you
If they
remember how
come in.
long it on average it took you to beat, Nate?
I mean, I beat the first one in less than 20 hours, but that was
Okay, I mean 20 hours is kind of a lot.
and not today.
Well, no. Yeah, not in general, but
people
just
will
in
be like,
terms
"Hey,
of
we're
if I
free
want
to
to play the
play
game next week.
$2 game for 20 hours.
No, yeah. But I'm just saying if I want to play the game next week, and some of those games are like 10 hours. But
Wasn't like the Order 1896 or whatever the hell it was that people bitched it because it was too short.
it was 3 hours.
Yeah.
But
So
honestly,
enjoyed
that
it.
is a great game because there's no filler. It's just fun the whole way through.
It was start to
Yeah.
finish. Like, yeah, I want more, but also, damn, that was really fun. I usually don't have that much fun in a 3-hour period. That's sick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I understand. Like, you know,
I like a variety of game lengths, and I do like a game that you can beat in one night or like a couple nights.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I miss those days because there's not that many games anymore that are like that. It's very rare a game comes out. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm done in a night. Like it just
Sega Genesis SNES era, you're renting a game for the weekend and beating it by time it's time to return it. You know, that,
Even Kirby and the
well, if you can
Forgotten
get
Land
past the
is pretty
difficulty, then
if you can, yeah. Sometimes you
Yeah.
have to repeat rent the same game like 6 or 7 times before it finally happens.
cool. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, then at that point, you might as well just bought the damn thing.
Yeah,
More money
exactly.
every game costs on renting. But you know what? You just never had that $60 at a time. You had your weekly allowance, but just enough to rent it. Anyways,
Oh, it says main story on Detective Pikachu is 12 hours. Completionist is 14 hours.
oh well, I took longer. It is what it is.
I mean, that's in the range, but that's good.
Well, I mean, it's I don't power through games, you know. I just kind of chill and play and vibe. Sometimes dwell
it's
on
like
them
it's
and
it's
good.
like my next door neighbor. It's doable. You
Yeah.
know, I can get that done.
Man.
Sorry, Mr. Jenkins is a wonderful man. I shouldn't talk about him like that.
That's hilarious. That's weird. That is actual name. Like I shouldn't laugh, but Mr. Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins.
Hey, Don't call him old man
Yeah,
Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins, Jim, what the Jingleheimer Smith.
Oh boy.
Anyways,
Yeah.
let's get into our first topic. You know, people are kind of waiting for us to actually talk about video games.
No, don't do
Switch
that.
2,
We're doing a good mix.
the latest on Switch 2 is our first topic. Look, every week there's at least a little bit of something that seems to happen for Switch 2, some rumors, some stuff floating out there. Didn't even touch on the Zippo stuff that I could toss in there if anyone wants to bring it up. It's up to the audience if they want to hear any of that stuff. Already did videos on it. But some of the more credible things out there that we could probably stand behind a bit more. Things like Necro Felipe today from Nintendo Universal coming out and saying Far Cry 7 is going to be day and date on Nintendo Switch 2. That tells you two things. And then he was asked, oh, do you just mean day and date like when Switch 2 launches? And he said, no, day and date with the other consoles, which tells you that the system will launch before the game comes out. So there's that.
Game's aimed for 2025.
So I'm confused. I'm just going to ask a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Was that the dev that then backtracked on it?
No.
And said, oh,
no.
That was a
that
different
was that
one, right?
small indie game.
That was an indie one. Okay, right.
The Freaky Dinner.
Big AAA game.
Terminados, I think. I don't remember the exact name, but it's a Spanish game, I believe, or Portuguese.
Yeah. So Far Cry 7.
Okay, so Far Cry 7, much bigger deal.
Estimated as a 2025 release, possibly 2024. We don't really know because Ubisoft hasn't really talked about it. Story details for it leaked today. I don't know if that means it's any closer to being talked about or not, but we're not going to talk about the story details. That's spoilers. And the really neat thing for people that actually are like Nintendo fans and pay a lot of attention is he kind of sort of said that the next Monster Hunter game that's going to be on like PS5 and Xbox Series X is also going to be on Switch 2. And it was weird because somebody asked him a follow-up question. Oh, is this going to be just like the next generation Monster Hunter game and being on Switch 2? And he just said yes. And nobody has ever said that that's going to be on Switch 2, the new Monster Hunter game. That hasn't even been announced yet, but is obviously going to come because that's a huge franchise. So that's kind of cool. So, like, is that Monster Hunter World 2?
Yeah.
We never got the first Monster Hunter World on Nintendo, obviously. So
right. We got Monster Hunter Rise instead.
We did, and which is really good. But Monster Hunter World is their best-selling one ever. So the sequel is highly anticipated and never been on a Nintendo platform. And yes, I see you furling your brow. It did outsell Rise.
Well, Rise has been out for less time, but
yeah, it's not really that.
It outsold even when it came to like PC and other platforms. It's still outsold.
Yeah. Yep.
It's still with the success of Rise though. It would be silly for Capcom not to do it.
Well, I mean, Rise
is traditional. Rise is traditional Monster Hunter, and World is more like a westernized version. And both are popular in their own right, but the westernized version really took off. The DLC for it absolutely blew up, and they released that as standalone at one point. So I do whatever. We don't know which Monster Hunter is being talked about here. Which one's going to be the next?
I don't care.
One.
Monster Hunter's Monster Hunter.
But that's the thing. Yeah, like he basically said we're getting it, even though it wasn't something he brought up. A fan brought up. So maybe that's like we should just expect it anyways because Monster Hunter sells so damn well on Nintendo that it'd be stupid not to bring it to Switch 2 this time. But still, technically, it wasn't just Far Cry 7 talked about today by Necro Felipe.
Since we brought up Capcom, I have to do my obligatory. Capcom, please make the Mega Man Legends collection a Switch 2 launch title, and then bring us Mega Legends 3.
Legends 3, that would be killer, man. What?
It
would break the internet.
Gosh darn clean.
It'd be super clean. I do have a quick thought on this if we can dive into the topic. So I think that Far Cry 7 that's cool news, and I think that Monster Hunter is also really cool news that this is potentially headed to Switch 2. But I think this really could potentially be setting the stage for what every Nintendo Switch gamer's actual dream is, which is that nothing really gets left out from Nintendo's console anymore. Like there's at least a chance that
outside of exclusives.
Clearly Spider-Man 2 is not coming to Nintendo Switch, but as in terms of
but Spider-Man 3
probably not. In terms of outside of those Microsoft and Sony first party exclusives, in terms of all the major third party AAA games, I think there is a lot of devs that probably are like, I wish we would have worked with the Switch more, or because the success is there this time. If they are sticking hybrid form factor and they're hopefully maybe even sticking with the Switch name, there's a lot of reason for devs to not want to miss out. And then like Bobby Kotick saying at the Activision Blizzard thing, I wish we would have got Call of Duty. I think on Switch, I think there's a lot of devs that probably felt like that this time are most likely asking Nintendo ahead of time for Switch 2 dev kits, and that's probably why we're starting to hear some of these kind of reports. So if that's the case, when we get the best of both worlds, it's a game changer.
Especially like year 1 and 2, maybe 3, when before there's like a refresh for the PS5 and Xbox Series S.
Right.
Then maybe certain titles, but you got to look at it like the amount of work it would take to make a competent port on something that has the power that we believe the next Switch will have. Yeah, it's some work. Like it's, to port it to anything that's different architecture is some work. But the amount of upside, like just the install base that system's gonna have, it's gonna be more than worthwhile. Like, of course, every dev is gonna want to dedicate resources to making sure stuff is gonna be on the Switch too.
Yeah, to make a new point, because I think everything I have said it makes sense. It kind of feels like maybe we could be looking at a scenario where developers are perhaps seeing that what Nintendo has established is something that's consistent and it's something they can rely on. In other words, the same way how people go into a new generation for Sony and Microsoft and expect that certain games will be coming because that's just the norm, it may become the case that will now be the new norm for Nintendo as well, which would bode well for sales of Switch 2. Doesn't mean Switch 2 will beat Switch 1, but it means it won't be a market failure, which I think is a good point to make because like, it's been very inconsistent.
The difference between the Switch launch and the Switch 2 launch, and we've talked about it before, how Nintendo has been bad with transitions from a good selling console to the next console. But the difference is like the Wii U, they messed up so bad. So many of these companies just didn't even try on the Switch for years. Like some of them still barely had anything. And I think the difference is a lot of those companies, including some, like there was never a Far Cry game on the Switch. So companies that never put their game on the Switch at all are immediately saying, yeah, it's going to be there. So that's a huge difference. And that's just going to build up so much momentum right from the start.
I would also like to quickly point out that the Xbox Series S actually really helps this argument because Microsoft requires content parity in a version to be workable on both the Series X and S. And if we're to believe that this is maybe as powerful as a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro, or even potentially a Series S, but it has DLSS to fall back on, it shouldn't be that much harder for devs to get a version working if they're already going to do it for the Series S and it's a major third-party AAA game. I don't think
Honestly,
the Switch 2 is going to be far away at all.
That's true. I don't know, later in the gen, especially when Xbox does their refresh that was leaked, I could see devs just saying, because some of them have already come this close to saying, screw the Series S.
Right.
But I could see them absolutely being like, absolutely, we'll put it on Switch 2. And like Switch 2 getting games that won't run on the Series S a couple years down the line. I can see that happening.
Well, it's also crazy because since it'll have DLSS, potentially even 3.5, that it means that like unlike the Series S, they can target like 720p and get a really crisp image on your TV, which they can't do with the Series S. So like when you target those lower resolutions, it gives you so much more headroom on performance with your CPU and GPU that it just might be literally just easier to bring games to Switch 2 than it is the Series S. Now, maybe that all changes because FSR 3 is supposed to hit those systems at some point. I don't know how that's going to perform yet on those systems because we just don't know. It's not here. There's just all hypothetical at this point. But we actually know what DLSS can do because it's already out there. It's being used right now. What I do find interesting as well is thinking about just the prospect that like Far Cry 7 is a next generation, or we should just say current generation.
It's current now. Yeah, I always say next gen.
It's not going to the last generation consoles. And we're just starting to enter that period where that's what's happening now, right? We're finally starting to get, hey, we're not making PS4 versions of games now. We're not making Xbox One versions of games anymore. And what's interesting is Nintendo somehow perfectly positioned themselves to not need to worry like they maybe had to do with Switch on getting all the third-party support, because their system's coming out at just the time that games are now starting to only be on PS5 and Xbox and PC. And with that, they're now dropping the system that, oh, by the way, you're just starting to make those games exclusive. Now we just dropped the hardware you can put it on, which is really, really interesting thinking about the timing of this, because it's almost like this cross-gen stuff that Sony and third parties and Xbox have been participating in kind of just helped Nintendo for a long, like if the Switch is still able to get things like Mortal Kombat 1. I know the reviews. I know what people are saying. But the bottom line is we still got it. We're not going to, Switch 2 is going to come out, and I honestly think if we're talking Far Cry 7, obviously Monster Hunter is a little bit different story because Monster Hunter's always been big on Nintendo. I truly think that like we're going to get all third-party support. Now, Ubisoft's always been pretty close with Nintendo this whole time anyways, even when they weren't releasing their big games. But this is one of their big games. And if they're releasing that, we're going to get the next Assassin's Creeds. We're going to get all their big stuff. They're going to bring all of it. And what's going to stop other companies? We already know we're getting Call of Duty. Contract signed, done. That deal just got approved by the CMA. It looks like it's going to close by the October 18th deadline. So that's going to be all done and signed and sealed. So we're going to have Call of Duty. Who knows what else? I don't know if we're going to get anything else from those companies. I don't know what Microsoft's planning to do. But EA, is probably already reevaluating. Hey, man, if it's that easy to put games on here, why wouldn't we do it? We're just pissing away money. We already have 2K support, right? We're going to get NBA 2K, except for now we're going to get the better version of it. Unlike this year when we get the worst version of it, which is fine because they're finally moving on to, again, making features that are for more powerful platforms. So they got to leave the old platforms behind. So I think we're getting to the point where, we're hearing rumors like Red Dead Redemption already came on Switch. Now Red Dead Redemption 2 might be coming out on Switch. Does that mean we're going to get GTA 6 on Switch 2? Like we're hearing that might even be announced coming up. Not announced as coming this year, but unveiling the game.
In October, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, in October, lots of reports around that, and Rockstar stuff always leaks like this, so it's probably
Is Elder Scrolls going to be exclusive to Xbox and PC?
According to their slide, it's PS5's not in that conversation. Which I think it's one of those games like, why would they bring it to PlayStation?
I guess I'm asking because can it be on Switch too?
What would be funny is if Microsoft starts deciding to keep things to Xbox, into PC and Nintendo, and then just leave Sony out of the mix.
Our console's not doing great in sales, but whose is? Let's reap the benefits from that. Screw Sony.
I think
it's part of Phil's long game.
I think honestly, Sony and Microsoft could actually have a much better relationship moving forward with Jim Ryan.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment.
That's true.
Maybe they just need to go to therapy.
But no, so it's interesting just looking at what the Switch 2 is going to be able to do and the games it's going to be able to get. Obviously, as a Nintendo fan, you're always super stoked at what the hell Nintendo is going to do because this is insane. They've never had this level of power and capabilities. Like, what's that next Xenoblade game going to be, man? Like, what's Retro Studios going to do with this? Everyone talks about the 3D Mario. What the hell is this 3D Mario game going to look like with this kind of the next Zelda? What the hell is the Zelda team going to do with it?
Yep.
Like, look what they did with Tears of the Kingdom on Switch. This is insane. What the hell are they going to do now? They're going to feel like they have unlimited power.
Imagine if they go back to that, realistic style Twilight Princess, but no, even better, the tech demo that they showed off that was super realistic.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit last week too.
Yeah, imagine.
I already know what they're gonna call it though.
What's that?
This is gonna shock you that I'm gonna predict this. It's gonna be called The Legend of Zelda. Keeping it clean.
I knew you were going there.
Well, it's going to be clean with all that DLSS.
Yeah, just the way you lined it up. It's with the pause, keeping it clean makes perfect sense.
I gotta say though, like just thinking about that Zelda tech demo and like the tech we're hearing about in Switch 2, like I can see, like if you go back and look at the Zelda tech demo, like there are some pretty cool effects. Like you see like the light reflecting off the floor, right? And it's like it's trying to emulate, at least for the time, because it came out back in 2011. Just trying to emulate some pretty advanced like graphical effects, and like I could kind of envision like how the Switch 2 could take something like that and just
Nintendo did ray tracing first.
Here we go.
That's the thing though. Like ray tracing would look so good in a game that's built around that style, and then like it would look.
It's assuming they ever do that style. Then again,
I think
what if they did? Would it destroy the sales of Tears of the Kingdom if they went with that style?
I wouldn't.
I don't know.
I
mean,
don't
it's
think
open
so.
world. You know that open world's not going anywhere. That's the one thing they said for sure. We're not. We're still gonna be open world.
I don't think. I think if they went with an art style, that would be like that because we know they're not going to do the exact same thing. That's not going to happen.
Well, no,
But
no. Unless it's an actual sequel again, they're not going.
But I guess the main point is, are they going to go in an art style that's maybe somewhat? Obviously that tech demo is not realistic. But it's more
Numa's going
realistic.
full Wind Waker, baby. Full Wind
Well,
Waker. Let's go.
Here's my thoughts on it.
Open world sea game.
I would be perfectly fine with that.
I mean, I'd be
No
fine with
matter
that, but I don't
what
think-
art style they go
it.
with.
I just don't know that it's a.
Well, no matter what they go with that, they go with realistic, whatever. People better not freaking bash it. Give the game a chance. Like that would make me so
Oh, it's
mad.
gonna
If, like
happen.
it got that treatment of like people just get mad at.
I
art
honestly
style.
think when they reveal it in like 2027, 2028, our jaws are just going to be on the floor drooling. Like, what are they doing? We already thought we saw the best the system can do. What's happening?
I think that it's not going to be Toon Link though. I don't think they're going to make a home console.
No,
Toon
I
Link.
don't think they're going to go back to that.
Yeah. I think they know that the kind of like young adult or somewhat adult Link is kind of like the go-to kind of Link for the masses. So that's just what I think they're gonna do. Not to mention when you go with that Link, it makes more sense to kind of incorporate romance, and clearly the Zelda fan base appreciates that. So I just
I don't think
I'm not
there's
saying
any
it's
romance.
blatant romance, but it is definitely like
I can
subtly
maybe
romance.
see
actually-
them.
So this is I'm not joking here. Like I've always believed this. I think that Link is asexual. I think he just doesn't care. I think he has
I
no.
mean, he doesn't
romantic
talk, to be
interest
fair,
either
so we
way.
really don't have a good point of
Well, it's
reference.
not just that. Like he has a lot of characters that express interest in him, and he just does not have any interest back. Like
Only
clearly.
one character he's staring at the ass, though. I'm just saying.
Well, that's your opinion. Hey, you know what? That's not keeping it clean.
All right, I'll
They
just
don't
tell
really
you
matter. We're
this.
talking about
princess.
Zelda
I
is,
am a
is
37-year-old
sleeping in
adult
Link's
male. I
house
don't
in Tears of
care.
the Kingdom. So
I could see
Yeah.
them revisiting a time where you start out as child Link and go to adult Link within the game, though. I don't think that that's totally off the table for Nintendo doing something like that.
Ocarina of Time remake.
Yeah, well, besides for Ocarina of Time remake, like incorporate that in some kind
I'm
of
okay. I mean, I
reimagining.
if they're both in the game in that way, that's fine. But I just kind of think they need to have like the older Link in the mainline
I
games.
think they
moving
stick
forward.
with that from here on for the most part too.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, the way they
Probably
handle
more
Link-
Majora's
Do you
Mask.
ever think they would do like a gritty like Link in his like 30s?
do it.
No,
They won't, but do
It would actually be cool if they went full on like
wanna see
aged
old
Kratos, God of
man.
War with Link. You know,
Like Link's already been the hero. He's already saved the day. He thinks he's all done. He's retired. He's enjoying himself. And all of a sudden, this grizzly 45-year-old Link.
All right. How about
I
this?
can
How
see a
about this?
spin-off.
Ready? You
where they do
play.
that.
You play as an older Link, right?
already.
And you like do all this stuff. You save the world, and then you're like going into this last castle, and you die. And as you're dying, you give a sword to the Link from the Link to the Past.
No.
There you go.
You're the
idea-
uncle
my
from
idea
the
is
original Link to the Past.
all the Links are descendants of each other. So,
Right. So
so in
that
theory,
works.
this old man Grizzly Link actually has a younger son who's like in it 15, 16, ready to do the adventure. But here's the problem. You start off playing as that character and he dies in the first
Yeah.
half hour of the game. And that's what brings the old Link out of retirement. Like, no. You took my son. There's the motivator.
That's too
That'd
similar
be
to God
so
of War.
sick.
for me.
Nintendo would never do that. But that would be sick.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
I whatever they do, I want it to be its own thing.
I want to say they
You know,
won't
I don't
kill
want it
you,
to
but they
be
have
like
cool
God. I don't
characters.
want it to be like any other game. I want it to be like
original.
I trust
Yeah.
the Zelda team fully.
Yeah, and they'll take as long as they need, and they'll come up with the most original, creative idea ever. And I have so much faith in that team. They have yet to let me down. And
I have more
30
faith
years
in
of
that
life.
team than any other team in all of gaming.
Agreed.
Eric,
I would-
quiet
I would
down
say
over
that.
there.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding. Eric, what are you thinking about this whole like third-party game stuff? Like starting to come out as, hey, this is coming. Hey,
Hey.
this is coming. Oh, this is coming.
More games for me not to play. No, I'm kidding. No, the more games the better. Heck yeah, bring it all. Bring all. I am all here for it.
Yeah,
So,
you're gonna play every one, right?
damn straight.
You'll at least purchase them, if
Yeah,
not play them.
yeah,
right.
Yeah, we'll be at 1 million subs by then, and he'll be working for me. So that'll be his job
Hell
is to
yeah,
play the games.
Heck
There
yeah,
you go.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you are good with that.
I'm plenty good with that.
So what I wanted to bring up is just a couple of things. Apparently, it's a hiring posts are sort of heavily suggesting that Switch 2 is going to have HDR. I think this was probably mostly expected at this point. It's kind of a modern feature that everything really supports, but there's a lot of different HDR standards. For some people, HDR looks like crap. I'm sure it'll be optional. I'm sure you'll be able to turn it off if it doesn't look good on your TV. But that is something that's just sort of neat to sort of bring up. Not really shocking. Nothing to really talk about. HDR, you like it or you don't like it.
Hold on. I made the argument in my video about the subject, right?
Yes.
That if the system supports HDR, it's obviously doesn't. If one does not confirm the other, but I think it increases the chance that maybe the screen that the Switch 2 itself has also might support HDR.
I don't think so.
But you don't know so.
The handheld screen you're talking, yeah,
right?
That would be interesting.
It'll support it on the OLED version later.
So you're saying?
I mean, LCDs can do
We're
HDR though.
with a cheap ass
right.
LCD.
I mean, it could be HDR enabled, but not impressive. I mean, that's very much a possibility because you can buy a pretty cheap panel.
Here's my argument why HDR requires high nits. They're not going to do that because it drains battery. It's just not going to be there.
Well, so hold on. Maybe they give the developer the choice.
You're wrong.
Well,
there could be a battery warning on toggling it on.
Yeah, like wouldn't it come down to the developer?
Yeah, you can, and like on any other console, like PS5, Xbox, you can turn HDR on and off. And on a Switch device, if you turn it off, that would consider battery. You have it.
I guess my perspective is, if you're going to have these features that are going to enhance the games, and then turn them all off when you go into portable mode. I mean, yes, you can do that. Obviously, in portable mode, at least on Switch, like if you Switch as a standard, yeah, there are certain things that are different in portable mode, but in general, they try to have them kind of scale down relatively well. So obviously, maybe Nintendo could decide, hey, HDR just not an option in portable mode.
No, just put it.
They could give developers the option, or consumers the option.
People already turn down the brightness to save battery. Sometimes it's nice to have the option.
You guys think DLSS
in every other console, HDR is under the brightness. So, like, every time you go to the brightness, that can also be something to toggle. So it's right there, so you know what it is.
You think they'll let DLSS be usable in portable?
Absolutely. I think it would mess up games like the whole development process if you can't use it in portable, because then you're going to be developing a dock, like almost two separate ways that the game runs if it can't just be pulled off the dock and played the same with DLSS. I mean, I'm not claiming to be a developer. I don't know exactly how that would work, but I just can't imagine it being disabled in handheld mode. In fact,
I'm not a developer, but that makes sense to me.
I also think that the HDR, like Nintendo's gonna put that on there more as an extra sticker to slap on the box and kind of like, oh, we have HDR now. We just like a 4K whenever docked, but it's not. It might not be impressive in handheld mode at all, but it's just there, just because it's there. Like like
Sony with the 8K on the box.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Marketing at its finest.
Makes sense. Okay.
Technically, we can have 8K image. Okay, cool. That's nice. Good for you. I'm glad I come up with an 8K screenshot.
Games can't hit 4K 60, but we're talking about 8K.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, my point is, I think there's a chance that HDR is at least possible in handheld mode. And if that's the case, it implies that LCD that's also rumored may not be as bad as the LCD on the Switch.
Give me a mini LED. That'd be sweet.
I mean, the greatest thing to do would be to do a dock setting and a handheld settings.
There's probably going to be,
and then
there's probably going to be different settings.
You don't have to go into the settings and change them every freaking time.
That should be a thing. That's a great point. That should be totally separate based off the profile. If you're docked or if you're portable, have two separate setting profiles.
Sure. There's also this running theory out there because of some Smash amiibo that potentially we could see a hardware reveal still this year. What are you guys' thoughts? I don't want to go into the whole.
Talk about.
I think it's definitely possible. I do think it's possible. How likely is it? That I'm totally up in the air on.
And it's supposedly within.
I lean towards not this year, but I would like it this year.
I'm on that same train of thought. I would love for it to happen this year, but I don't know that it's really that. I mean, it is possible if Nintendo. The one way I could see them doing it in November is they're already telling us that it's the Mario Kart 8 bundle, and then they have the Switch Lights with the Animal Crossing designs, and then they're like, surprise Black Friday sale, and through the holiday season, we're gonna do a price drop, and you get the Switch base model for $250 because you already know that this new console is going to come out. But I think that seems like a stretch compared to them just riding through this holiday season and then doing an early year, January to March range. Here's your Switch 2 announcement, and it's middle of the year or late. I would love for that March stock to be the launch window, but I think it's more the reveal.
Price cut until after the holidays because they always sell during the holidays. Yeah. And now that they're going to have like that bundle, which to be fair, they always have, but then they have the Animal Crossing Switch Lights, like. There's no reason
Mario Wonder is going to be on the shelves following up the success of the Mario Bros. Movie.
Right. One question. So let's say obviously it's not revealed this year. Probably none of us even know, but let's say it's not revealed this year. That's the expectation. We're not going to see it this year. Why are the bundles in the beginning of October instead of November? There have always been November until now.
All right.
Because they are trying to clear stock. They just want to do it without a price cut.
Yeah. I think it's so. Yeah, pretty much. Right.
Well, it is a price cut because now you're
I think the answer is related to Switch 2, but it's not that because we're going to see Switch 2. It's because this may be the last holiday where Switch is the main Nintendo console, so they're doing what they can to sell out as much as they can. And also maybe that's why we're getting the Amiibo restocked as well, just because they're just trying to push out everything they have left for that last major holiday of Switch before Switch 2 arrives. I threw out an idea during my podcast on Monday that it's kind of interesting because I think everyone's pointing to, but the Amiibo restocks always coincide with a major announcement or event. And people are like, well, the only possible,
16 days either way of when they come out.
Right. So what's interesting about that is that everyone's making the assumption, not everyone, right? That's an exaggeration, but a lot of people are making the assumption that has to mean Switch 2 because the directs are done. The Nintendo lives have happened, right? Like, what else?
The amount of Amiibo for the games the Amiibo represent,
it's substantial.
Really, there's nothing happening, that we're aware of that would involve that many major IPs, unless that's where
I had an idea. I had an idea that makes more sense. They give us a trailer that showcases or teases the Nintendo Museum.
Here we go. The museum is not even broke ground yet. It hasn't even broke ground yet. Let's start teasing it. They showed us a render. It hasn't even broke ground. I just don't see them teasing that right now. Like that's not going to be done for like 2 years.
I was surprised that was in the direct at all because it's not like an international attraction to the point where everybody's flocking to Japan to go see that thing. I guess
maybe I'm just that high on museums.
I think you're really hyped for that museum.
Don't get me wrong, I would love to go, but
it was strange it was even in the direct because it's not an international attraction. It's just like hey, if you happen to come to Kyoto sometime, you should probably stop by here if you're a Nintendo fan. Okay.
So what do you think's gonna happen, Nate?
What do I think is gonna happen?
Yeah, well, tell me, what do you think is gonna happen?
I don't think a console is getting revealed this year. I think it's a little unrealistic to expect it.
Sure, but what is gonna happen?
I think they're just going to announce at the beginning of November, they're going to announce a Nintendo Classics line, and they're going to drop the price on like Mario Odyssey to $20, Breath of the Wild to $20, Metroid Dread. They might even do a price drop to $40. They just do a Nintendo Select line of games. They do this late in the generation all the damn time. It could literally just be a Nintendo Select line of video games.
That's pretty good.
No one's talking about it, but they've done it for like 3 straight generations. Why the hell would I mean, and they have games like Mario Odyssey that aren't even really selling anymore. Drop it to $20. You'll sell a bunch this holiday. There might be scientist's idea. I might do some research on it.
I think
by the way, I don't think it's 3 generations. I think it's only Wii U.
3DS did it.
Yeah, 3DS.
GameCube had a
player's choice.
Player's choice. Yeah.
There you go.
I have some of those yellow bars at the top of the GameCube cases that I hate.
Yep.
Did Game Boy Advance have something?
That I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that either.
I'm not sure. So at least console-wise, GameCube did it, Wii did it, Wii U did it.
Well, and to add to your point, Nate, like I think maybe that's the reason a lot of people aren't talking about it is because a lot of people, like obviously us that create Nintendo content, or the chat that's very interested in Nintendo content, we already have most of those games that we want. So it's not very exciting for like the hardcore community.
And you wouldn't put Mario, like people, oh, finally Mario Kart 8 is going to be cheaper. No, it's not. I'm just letting you. It's a top 10 seller every.
Right. Game Boy Advance. Super Mario Odyssey. If you wanted to play that and you're like a big Nintendo fan, you've played it. Now there might be some exceptions for some people, but for the most part, it's not as exciting as thinking of one of the other things that you mentioned happening. But I think it would be a counter argument. I mean, I think it would be a good move.
I have a counter argument. Maybe the reason why we tend to see these players' choice discounted Nintendo games towards the end of every generation is because they are running out of steam. They're trying to think of ways to maintain momentum. But when they have such great momentum at this point, there may be no need. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but
I'll say this. We usually have the line of games out by now. That's like the counter argument is they've never waited this late into a generation to do it. They've already have started it 2 years ago. So there is an argument to be made that, hey, they don't need to do it for starters. It's still selling really well. Yeah, they have some old games like Mario Odyssey that aren't really selling anymore, but maybe they just don't care because they have Mario Wonder coming out. And I mean, come on, Mario is not being forgotten. Literally, we're going to be bashed over the head with Mario for the next 6 months. So
let's also not forget that they did bring back the buy 2 games.
Yeah. And they also have that.
So that could be their
their replacement for it. Yeah.
Right. So
so my thing is like I just threw that out there because it's happened so many generations in a row. I mean, someone mentioned in the chat like it's been happening since Super Nintendo. So it's like, okay, cool. Like that actually makes sense. But if that's not what it is,
Nintendo Museum, baby, we're getting that trailer.
No, if that's not what it is, then I actually start to entertain the Nintendo Switch 2 idea. And the reasoning it would be because it's coming out in March. And if it's coming out in March, they want you to know now.
If it's coming out in March, I do think it has to happen this year.
They do a price drop. They can keep.
I don't think it's coming out in March.
They are because the bundles have a game in them. Mm-hmm. So they're not actually still technically.
I could see it being announced in January and coming out in March. That's more time than Sony announced the PS5 and it came out.
Technically, they first mentioned PS5.
They did that during a holiday.
They first mentioned PS5 in April of 2019.
But 19. Okay, I guess that's true. I guess I'm thinking when they announced it was actually like pre-orders, which Nintendo would do it different. If Nintendo's announced it, they're going to announce when you can get it.
Yeah, they won't be available to pre-order right away.
I have wondered if we'll see this generation transition have the shortest ramp up, like almost Apple style. That Nintendo's like, here's our reveal, and it's up for pre-orders next week, and it's gonna ship to you 2 months later. I do think that
November to March would be the shortest. They've never done
right. It's 6 months for the Switch, right?
The good thing about hypothetically, it is a short lead time, but hypothetically doing like January to March is that is their like worst. That is all the video games industry. That's their worst selling months. So that's the best time to have people like maybe stop buying games because they're waiting for the new system.
Can I
just from a financial perspective, that would be the best time.
My idea is being shot down, but I'm just saying that I do entertain the idea of a November reveal with a price drop that keeps the sales there. And it starts driving hype because I don't think people are going to stop buying Switch games if it's announced with backwards compatibility because you feel confident to continue to buy Switch games. So if there's backwards compatibility announced with them, by the way, when I say announce it, like I'm talking like an October 2016 teaser. Like they'll do a full event in January, a full blowout. But like they'll do the teaser where they show you what it is. They tease
it. It is.
They don't even name them. They don't even
to
name.
To be honest, I was kind of thinking they would announce it in September. Like as of a month ago, I thought it was probably going to come.
There was a lot of people that thought they might do that. Yeah.
Can I screen share something with you guys? It's something that
as long as you keep it clean.
Oh,
you shared your screen with me before. Just keep it clean.
It's clean. It's not even Google this time. It's my.
Wait, it's private. Hold on. We're going to private images. I'm not sure if I'm okay with this.
Got my OnlyFans up there.
I'm actually debating I shouldn't share and save it for a video.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going to promote my OnlyFans.
Not that many people watch this podcast. How popular do you think this podcast is?
It's fine.
It's been up over 3.
There'll be more. This will be.
His videos do 2-3 times that.
I know.
This is a preview. Let's call it that. All right, you ready?
He's teasing.
You ready?
Giving you a reason to subscribe. I've been ready.
Thank
I'm
you.
waiting to click.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I had to make sure it was clean before I.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Can you guys see this clearly?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So, like, for the video today, I just decided that it would be easier to kind of just like show something to maybe kind of illustrate how next year could go. Right. Because the point for the video today, I was just talking about Donkey Kong. Right. If there would be a new Donkey Kong announced for next year, like, where does it fit? So, these 3 games are already confirmed. There's 12 boxes here, right? I'm trying to kind of think,
All
okay, if
12 months.
Nintendo has at least one major published title per month, right? You got January, February, March, April, then, all throughout the year, right?
Yeah.
So January got another Code Recollection, Mario vs. Donkey Kong in February, Princess Peach Showtime in March. Because of Princess Peach Showtime, Nate, I know you disagree with me on this, but I feel like there's kind of no way we get Switch 2 in March. But you still have these other 9 remaining months. Now, Luigi's mentioned the rest is unconfirmed, right? Speculation. Luigi's mentioned 2 HD. We know it's summertime, so I have it slotted in here for June, but maybe it
Could be
somehow comes out late May, or it can still come out July or August. Thousand Year Door is just 2024. I think that strongly implies it's a second half of 2024 title, but I personally doubt it's like a holiday title. So I have it in here for like, around August, like maybe September, like that's kind of a thing. And then here I created like a Mario image, right? So this is me implying 3D Mario for maybe September, which I think is when Switch 2 comes out. Prime 4 for October, because that'd be a fitting time. And then there's going to be a Pokemon game in November, because that always happens. And then December is just kind of vacant. So that's just kind of like, me sort of spitballing somewhat of we can maybe sort of guesstimate might be Nintendo's lineup next year. But there's still vacancies. There's still games to be announced. And
vacancies. All right.
Right. But it just kind of, at least for me, it helps me to sort of maybe think about what would make the most sense for Nintendo to do. Like, does it maybe make more sense for Nintendo to release the system in the middle of the year? Is that conceivable? And if that's the case, like, what is the launch title for this system, right? Like, do we still assume 3D Mario is a launch title? And if that's the case, do we want it to be in between Luigi's Mansion and Thousand Year Door, right? Like, say it comes out July.
See, I don't really care about any of the games coming out on Switch. I don't think they're determining anything. So, obviously, when I think it can come out in March with Princess Peach, I don't really think anything.
Yeah, you don't care.
It's not that I don't care. It's that you can only.
You think Nintendo doesn't care?
You can only sell so many systems at launch, and there's still 130 plus million people that need to buy games.
Yeah.
I shared
with you the idea a little bit. So
I don't think another Code Recollection will be their only game in that particular month too. I think that's like more of a fan service game. And I think there's a lot we don't know about 2023 and what Nintendo's going to reveal game wise. So I don't know. It's an interesting argument, but I do wonder the same. I don't think that I think that whenever Switch 2 gets announced, whatever the direct is after that will like color in so much of the year, because there's no doubt that they've been holding back some projects to help try to launch that thing. I do think that 3D Mario launches it. It was like, if it wasn't going to be Zelda, it's going to be Mario, which maybe means that there's a really short turnaround time for an announcement on a 3D Mario game like that to when it is ultimately out.
What do you think, Eric?
I don't know. I was looking at, because Andres brought up the museum, and that's supposed to be opening in March of 2024. What better way to go, hey, come join us at the museum for Switch 2 launch?
Wait,
that's keeping it clean. That's keeping it clean, boys.
Yeah,
it is supposed to open in March.
Why can't there be a trailer in November?
No.
Why would they have a trailer for a museum? I just
because it's cool.
It's gonna be a combo.
Why would they put
there's not gonna be anything in the museum until like January.
They could have plans, they could have stuff, they could be building things. What if they want to show us the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Mario Odyssey in the opening of the museum because they're trying to mimic,
You wouldn't even see the real thing.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this Nintendo Museum is not in any way, shape, or form related to the Switch 2 launch in any way, shape, or form.
Well, not the Switch 2 launch. I'm just talking about the secret November thing.
I do wonder, because there's a number of buildings attached to the museum, it is possible that maybe they want to build like and because it's a museum, there's other uses for this. They could build a stage and have their own stage there. And that could actually be where they would do a Switch 2 presentation. Because everyone else seems to have their own. Sony's got their own stuff. Microsoft has, Apple
At
does
the
it.
museum.
So yeah, they could have a stage at the museum because there could be other attractions they do on a stage show.
To be honest,
at the
they
museum.
they don't need the museum to promote the Switch 2. I think we
No,
all
they
know
don't.
that.
No, I'm just saying it would be if
It's
they
the
had
other way
it.
around.
Oh, well, let me just finish the sentence. Keep it clean. All right. Well,
Okay,
it
too.
would be
I'll shut up.
great promotion for the museum to show the Switch 2 at it. There's a lot of people that don't even know what it is, don't care, but might, if it was the place where the Switch 2 was shown off and featured, it would get people more interested in that. So there is a way in which it would financially benefit them.
So when you talk about there being a stage in the museum where there could be performances,
You know,
so you understand how my brain works. My first thought was, oh, they should do what they did with Pauline in Mario Odyssey and emulate the concert from the game at the museum. How cool would that be? See, I'm right now. I'm just like in Nintendo fanboy mode. Like I'm just like,
Like,
hey, I want this to be the best
holograms,
museum
look.
ever.
All right, it's
I
time
mean,
to sell all your possessions
Like
and
during
buy your
COVID, they did a
for the
bunch. They
museum.
did like the music presentation for like Animal Crossing. Like they've done like stuff like that. So it would be great to have their own venue.
All right,
I'm
Andres, we were talking about sponsorships before we got started. You need to reach out to everyone and be like, I'm looking for a sponsor for the trip to the museum.
Mhm.
That's what I want. I want my tickets, my hotel paid for. Let's go.
But continuing on this subject though, like think about how many like different like exhibits Nintendo's put together for their different events, like the Animal Crossing one, the Zelda one. They've done others like Mario Odyssey. Like they have a lot of really cool like statues and set pieces.
Probably why
Like
built
they could make an amazing museum. Like they could legitimately like put together one of the best museums ever made.
No doubt about it.
I mean, that's a little. It really.
I
only
think so.
matters
They could make one of the best museums ever made for a Nintendo fan.
Yeah, they'll be
Put it
like,
out. if you're not into any of their stuff, you're not gonna care. But
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
mean,
almost
like
think they're gonna build
in
it
terms of
because
gaming
they have all
even.
that shit
Like-
sitting in storage and they got to put it somewhere.
it
They
would
figure
bring
they
the
can charge
hype.
people admission to look at it.
in terms of gaming, they could probably make the best museum with their history. I would argue.
It'd be so cool.
Imagine they partner with Sega, get some of that stuff in there too.
There you go. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, they would definitely. I could see them doing that for
They would
sure.
have to have a Sega portion where the old commercials are playing.
Battle ears.
Yep, Sega
I would
does
love
what
just like a
Nintendo
part
does.
where they like
They're like they play the Nintendo don't commercials, but they're censored.
Yes.
Anyways,
anyway, I guess getting back to the point, I think that the amiibo restocks they're very loosely related to Switch 2, but it's not because we're going to have a teaser that soon.
there's also, and this is obviously the pessimist that comes up because here's the thing: every time there's been this many restock, it has meant something in the past. So I can't dismiss the correlations that have
Can't dismiss
existed.
it.
But also, correlation's not causation. It could just be it's holidays and they think they'll sell some. So they're just releasing a bunch before holidays. And they're going to Black Friday sale them. And they're going to end up. Now, to be
It's
fair,
the last
the
big
listings
Switch
are from
holiday.
Greece. The listings are from Greece, which doesn't have a Black Friday. So that's why some people have dismissed the Black Friday theory because we have evidence of the restocks because of Greece. But it's just to me, it's just one of these situations where I don't know that in this case the correlation is a causation for anything, just because this is potentially or should be the last holiday featuring Switch, and it could just be as simple as, hey, we just think we're going to sell a bunch of these this holiday. These are the most popular ones we've ever had. These ones always sell out, so we're just dropping a bunch for the holidays. It could just be that simple. But again, it's always correlated to other things in the past. And we know there's a system coming. And we know, as we're seeing every week, that people won't shut up about it. It's like the worst kept secret in gaming. So, and we just got done with Tokyo Game Show. Give it like 2 weeks, and we're going to start getting stuff from Tokyo Game Show about this. As well.
Will it even take that long?
Yeah, well, it was it was more like a week. It was a week after Gamescom whenever it started.
We'll hear something. There'll be a report from someone next week.
This time next week, we're gonna be freaking out.
Yeah, we might be. We might be.
It could be.
Let's shoot stronger than PS6.
Could just be the same demos from Gamescom, and then we're just.
Or maybe we hear about another one.
But here's the thing: if it is to be believed that it's somehow going to launch in March, we should start seeing actual manufacturing leaks soon.
Yeah,
because Shintaro Furukawa said that the way that they're going to try to fight off the scalper situation to investors is just to have plain out as much stock as humanly possible to try to meet the demand of consumers. It's probably still not going to meet the demand, but the way that's kind of how he answered that question on what are you going to do to try to fight a scalping situation with your next gen console.
He also said they are exploring other methods, like they're looking at things like what PlayStation's done with PS Direct and having wait lines. They're looking into all that stuff, I'm sure.
But the problem is they can't control like the Walmarts and Targets and Best Buys of the world. And
if you do not allow in-person pre-orders, you have made the greatest mistake. Stop making us fight online when some of us can just go to a retail store the night before, camp out, and just get the pre-order in. It's so much easier.
Yep.
That was one of the biggest things. I know it was because of COVID, so it was a very unique situation about not doing in-store pre-orders. But damn, man.
Or just require online pre-orders to have an active Nintendo account for X many months.
There's like 200 million of those, and they're absolutely free to make. I don't think it's going to do anything. That's going to stop.
But make it so it had to have been active with a purchase in the last few months or whatever.
But the problem is that Nintendo, at the end of the day, they don't, even though they want it to end up in the hands of gamers, they also just want a sale, of the console. Like they don't want to put up any barriers.
I disagree. Because what happened to Sony and Microsoft is
they don't buy games.
Yeah, they were all sitting on scalpers' shelves, and no one was buying games, and it tanks their software sales for so long.
That's a good point. I'm just thinking about it from the perspective of Nintendo
PS5s. Like, yeah, congrats, man.
Nintendo wouldn't want to. Let's say you're a brand new Nintendo gamer, you didn't have a reason to sign up for a Nintendo account. They wouldn't want to age or wall off anybody who's going to be a brand new gamer to their system. But at the same time, you are right. They definitely don't want scalpers to have it.
At the same time, someone that's going to be a brand new gamer probably isn't going to buy that much either. So I think they would be incentivized to, and also it would be a good move to show that they're loyal to the people that have supported the Switch, especially if they just bought it during the holiday or whatever. To be like, hey, you know what? Like that's going to be the priority for our online retailers. You could still, through other retailers buy.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
But for the Nintendo website, we're gonna have a specific amount of stock for us that we're just, you know what I mean? That's a Nintendo move too. It's like not too far fetched to think.
No, I agree. If it's exclusive to their online store, I actually think that makes a ton more sense because then it is them signaling to we care about our fan base, what we're going to do for the loyal long-term gamers. We're going to put out this X amount of stock just for you guys. That would actually be a really cool move. I feel like for the core Nintendo fan base.
I do too. And for a lot of hardcore gamers, that would make Nintendo look really good compared to Sony and Microsoft.
Sure. So speaking of Sony, Jim Ryan announced today officially by Sony. It technically was leaked out by Jason Schreier. He broke the news, and then Sony's like, "Oh crap, cat's out of the bag. We better release our little PR press release on this." Jim Ryan, the leader of Sony Interactive Entertainment, he's essentially the leader of PlayStation. It's the way you can basically look at him. He runs all things PlayStation. He's been working at Sony, I think they said for 30 years. So he's been there a hell of a long time.
I didn't know that until that news post. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I can't remember. I didn't read everything, so I'm not sure how long he ran PlayStation.
He's worked at PlayStation longer than the PlayStation has existed.
That's a good point.
Sony longer than PlayStation's existed. But
they said PlayStation.
He wasn't running.
I don't know how that works.
The entire time. He wasn't running PlayStation. There was other I forget. There was a different president.
Well, yeah, even the last 10 years he wasn't running it the whole time. I don't know when he became CEO, but
anyways,
just worked for them.
So he's retiring in March of 2024. We don't know the exact day, and it's fine. It doesn't really matter for us. Hiroki Totoki is assuming the role of chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment. He's already, a big member of the board and a bunch of stuff. He does a bunch of roles at Sony already. So he's sort of I guess, running the show until they find a new person.
Well, the thing is,
they're working towards finding
Jim Ryan is going to work at Nintendo, and he has to announce the Switch 2 in March 2024. So,
anyways,
it's a conflict of interest.
Jim Ryan is quoted in saying his little goodbyes, and he actually said why he's retiring. It's quite interesting. He's not really retiring because he doesn't want to do the job. He's retiring because he's sick of living in Europe but having to work in North America. Interesting, because honestly, the North America thing is actually quite recent that the Sony moved everything to North America. It was in Japan for many, many, many years. So I
Such
almost wonder.
a first world problem.
Yeah, it is. It's such a, oh man, I live in Europe, but I have to work in North America.
Jim Ryan.
Ryan, Jim Ryan, I'm out. Peace. So anyways, this is sort of a big deal. Jim Ryan's been the face of PlayStation for a long time. The crying Jim Ryan memes and all that. You know, pretty much everything good and bad, everyone points the fingers at Jim Ryan. So, which happens. I mean, everything good and bad, you pointed at Iwata, who was running Nintendo before. So, like,
got two first names, you can't trust them.
So,
And
what
can
are
relate.
your thoughts on Jim Ryan stepping down? I don't think there's anyone obvious to take over for CEO at this point. That's why they didn't make any announcement. They're trying to find the right person. So to me, that also feels like maybe it caught Sony off guard that he was going to step down at what I presume is the end of his current contract. Because they were probably in contract renewal talks, and that's when he told them, "Hey, I'm not going to renew." And then on top of that, what's Jim Ryan's legacy? Because honestly, PlayStation has stayed consistently successful underneath him, but a lot
that
of
in itself is a legacy. Like that consistency overall.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to pick one thing, but that's just because there's been so many good things that happen. So that's not a bad legacy. As much hate as he's gotten over the years, I mean,
he's handled the hate pretty good, I'd say overall.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, he comes across cocky sometimes, but you know what? What's he supposed to be? PlayStation's been on top of the world for a long time.
He's a business guy. I think like everything like that he's put out there is kind of expected from a, you know, anybody at a CEO level, or when you're running something like that's, you rarely find somebody who doesn't have some of those things, like where they overpromise on certain stuff, or just like the things that people call him out for, which to be fair, I mean, like lying, crying, Jim Ryan, like the lies were there. We believe in generations, and it's only powerful with the, you know, it's only possible with the power of the PlayStation 5, and then the games come out on PS4.
Funny is Nintendo will make the same kind of statement.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think anybody
like, hey, the Switch is coming out, but the 3DS is going to be supported for the entire time the Switch is. Like,
well, they didn't say the entire time. They just said it's not a 3DS replacement.
They heavily implied it, like that it's going to be continue being supported by them. And not even a few months, the last Nintendo game for the 3DS was published.
No,
last first party Nintendo game, yeah.
No, Ever Oasis was published by Nintendo, and that came out in 2018.
Nintendo was publishing games on 3DS until 2019.
So, Nintendo first party game.
Yeah, we had this talk before. Like Nintendo was publishing games all the way into 2019 on 3DS.
No, the 3DS was supported for 2 years after Switch came out.
Yeah,
right. But what first party Nintendo came out after Switch?
They were publishing. When I say supported, I mean they were publishing first party titles until 2019.
Okay,
I can pull up the list for you though.
All right, I'll look it up myself. You don't have to pull it up.
There was a lot of remasters, to be clear, which is exactly what they're doing with Switch right now.
The last original first-party title for the 3DS was in 2018, WarioWare Gold.
WarioWare Gold. Okay.
What month was that?
Doesn't say. I'd have to look up
WarioWare Gold.
Yeah.
I just think Nintendo stays silent about some of those things more, and they just do it anyway. Nintendo believes in generations because they maybe have one cross-gen title, and then it's just like maybe third-party stuff continues to come out.
Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser's Jr.'s Journey, Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, and Yokai Watch 3 were published by Nintendo for 3DS in 2019.
Wait, sorry, I was reading this. Which games, Andres?
Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey. I know it's a mouthful. At Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn and Yokai Watch 3.
We're in 2019.
Okay. Yeah. Those are 3 published Nintendo titles for 3DS in 2019.
I mean,
and there were
Yokai
Watch was published by Nintendo outside of Japan.
Right. It's not a first party Nintendo game, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's technically not first party, but they did publish it outside of Japan. And
if they're when they're publishing it, that becomes a blurred line situation.
Yeah, it's because they own some rights to the game.
Well, yeah, and that's fair. But I was specifically referring to not just published, but first party developed.
Sure. But there's still 2 other Nintendo IP that were games that came out in 2019.
The point was that they kept supporting the system.
Still argue about the studios that made them not being Nintendo's main. I mean, one of them went out of business within a year.
No, here's the thing. I think everyone's right in that Jake is saying their main studios were obviously making games on Switch, clearly. You don't get the kind of output on Switch without that happening.
That's all I was saying. You're right. That's my point.
But 3DS technically was also being supported by Nintendo the whole time as well for about 2 years. So
sure.
And that's probably, and they might be doing that with Switch.
I'll concede. I'll concede to that.
We'll probably get lots of ports.
I mean, that's right.
That's
I won't concede
for another year or two. Like it's probably going to happen. So I think I just think it's interesting thinking about Jim Ryan's career, because obviously consistency is the one thing I'll always think of. Like PlayStation, out of all of the platforms, super consistent, maintaining audience, maintaining I would say mostly consumer happiness. You know, most Sony fans are pretty happy with their Sony systems by the end of a generation. You know, even being consistent in some ways in which they've handled recent services and games and PlayStation Plus, and you know, adding free games every single month. Sometimes people aren't happy with it, but sometimes they are. Also, hey, under Jim Ryan, Sony made the decision to bring their games to PC. So PC fans can also be thanking Jim Ryan for making that decision, because he ultimately had to come down to him making the call and saying, hey, we don't think there's a lot of crossover in audiences. We don't think it's going to hurt our sales. Well, let's bring our games to PC a year later. It's worked out for him so far.
I think that there's been a lot of things that have been more negative with him recently, like in the past year, like this console generation problem.
Oh, no.
And that I feel like has led to him, you know, someone retires, you don't really know what was talked about behind the scenes, if like maybe he was requested to retire, but Sony wants to look strong. They wanted to make it seem like his choice. You don't know if there was any of that going on in the background.
Sure.
But obviously, like, people were upset about the PS Plus price increase. Then last year, when he tried to rebrand all of PS Plus and forget what was even called before, PlayStation Now, into one thing, and that did nothing. Like, let's be like, you know what I mean, negligible. And then for a whole year, didn't add any PS2 or PSP games, and it's like on its own, whether they did or didn't, that would be so negligible how much money they would make, which is why he didn't care, because he is a businessman.
Big push for PSVR2, and then now no one's even talking about it anymore.
Right. And then the choice of the PlayStation Portal was weird. And well, he is not responsible for all those things. They all happened under his leadership. And so it does look good for Sony as a whole to have a new CEO. And that's, if you go on Twitter or whatever, that's a lot of the conversation. Like, people are more excited about it than sad about it.
Plus, people are mad at, like, they think that he's responsible for all the Japanese studio shutdowns.
And just the way he came off during the entire FTC case with Microsoft.
Oh, he looked horrible in that case.
Conspiracy theory.
That's probably a bigger part of it than anything I've said so far.
He looks really bad.
It was his job to block that merger. He knew his job was on the line if it didn't get blocked, and now here he is resigning.
Let's be real. He kept it nasty. He kept it filthy.
Dude, he was so dirty. The tactics he was using to get it blocked. And then like Microsoft's the whole time like, what are you talking about? Here's the actual facts of what you've done to us. Do we want to get into what you've done to us? Because let's air your dirty laundry. And then those contracts come out where they're just literally bad talking Xbox for like 2 straight fucking decades.
When he says, he literally is quoted in an email or something somewhere that is like, I don't care about Call of Duty. I just want your merger blocked. You know, like all the tactics. Yeah, all the tactics.
The whole time you're like, oh, it's about keeping Call of Duty. It's about, I don't give a fuck about Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's
you just want to fuck you over. That's all it is.
There's other motives.
Yeah, it's like not like you don't know that, but like you're not supposed to say it.
And I mentioned this earlier on the podcast when we were talking about how maybe Microsoft could make exclusives that are on Xbox, PC, and Switch. And I mentioned, like, it also bodes well for Sony that maybe, I don't think they're gonna fix their relationship completely with Microsoft, but it can't get any worse. There's a possibility of improving that relationship to some degree in the future. With Ryan.
And does Sony now have a new motive to fix their relationship with Microsoft, considering that Activision Blizzard is going to them and all the IP?
I think the fact that deal passed, Ryan failed. After all the pettiness and all the bad looks, he failed.
Tell Phil, what do we have to do to put Game Pass on our system? Then Phil will be like, all right, let's talk. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to talk. I honestly don't think those companies are ever going to talk again unless Sony reaches an olive branch out and says, "Hey, we're considering allowing Game Pass on our platform." That's it. That's what Microsoft cares about. They care about the subscriptions.
That's true. That's all they want.
That's what they care about. Like that's why I said,
Could
like, if
you-
they work with Nintendo,
this is kinda crazy.
Game Pass to Nintendo.
Could you see Microsoft like their next console that was leaked being their last one if Sony agrees? So like keep Game Pass on there, like as long as it's a service.
Well, I don't think Sony's going to agree to that anytime soon.
Maybe the reason why they're just trying to delay things as much as possible, because if they can delay things a couple extra years, maybe the Xbox division will be just cut.
It's not.
And that
now that
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
they're going to be rolling in the money, man. King's going to be making them so much money every year.
I think with the Activision Blizzard thing looking like it's going to for sure close, that puts them in a much better position than some of those emails we were reading. But to be fair, there was some legitimate concern that if they didn't grow Game Pass by a significant amount of time, by I think they said end of 2027, that they would have to consider exiting the console, the gaming space.
When is Elder Scrolls supposed to come out?
Stuff came out
2026, I think, or 20.
Just in time.
Yeah.
So like Phil Spencer, I noted too after all that he's like, hey, it sucks this stuff got out there. We made a mistake, but also that like these are old emails before we even acquired ZeniMax, let alone before we acquired, obviously Activision Blizzard. So it's like their plans have clearly changed. Like they're not trying to get Nintendo.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Not, it's all like, hey, like we were talking back then, we were pipe dreaming. It would be a career moment to get Nintendo. Like, yeah, of course it would, but also. Realistically, realized couldn't do it. Nailed down ZeniMax, nailed down Activision Blizzard, and now they're it's different. Like Activision Blizzard, I do think was a turning point. Like if they didn't get that deal, because he was so upset when the CMA was trying to block it back in that week after Redfall came out, and then that ended up being a disaster too. So a really bad week, and he went on that kind of fun. I give him a lot of credit for still deciding to go on that podcast after that bad week. And then on that podcast, he was just like, I've never seen a CEO be that honest. Just being like, dude, it's a bad week. You guys can't trust a damn thing I say. Like literally, next time I tell you a game is good, just tell me I'm a liar. I'm like, what is going on right now? Where's the Reggie spin? Where's the hey, we'll patch this, everything's gonna be good. And no, you're just straight up saying this is a bad game and I screwed up. And then going on to be like, in this merger, man, like if this doesn't go through, I don't really know. We don't really have a backup plan right now. And it's like, what are we? Are you about to lose your job? Are they about to axe Xbox if this deal doesn't go? That's what it felt like. And then lo and behold, the deal's going through, and now it's probably all coming up roses. And because they know how much money the Activision Blizzard Kings projected to make over the next 10 years, they know they're going to get that $70 billion back. So, and because they finally got it, the big thing for them is they finally got the in to mobile. Like that's the thing. Microsoft is really. Out of all the modern tech, they're massive in on servers. They're massive in obviously on all the Windows devices and the Surfaces and the tablets. They kind of couldn't really pull it off making their own phones, but they wanted to get big apps on, phones that make a lot of money. And the only one they really had that's done anything is Office. And they're like, well, we need something else. We need something that actually drives consistent revenue. We need games, and they couldn't get any game. Like they tried Age of Empires mobile, didn't really take off. They tried a bunch of mobile games, and now they got King. So they're in like towards the top of the pile of the highest grossing apps, that there is. So that's really what the deal. That's why I don't think Microsoft ever cared about Call of Duty exclusivity. Why do we even care about that? The real money's king. Call of Duty makes a lot of money. We're not gonna like that's not how we're making $70 billion back. And if we are gonna make $70 billion back, why wouldn't we just give everyone Call of Duty? Ubisoft, do you want to stream Microsoft Blizzard game? Activision Blizzard game, go for it, man. Like we'll give this. We'll let in the UK. You want to be a streaming service provider? We don't give a shit. Our money's keeping Candy Crush going. And I don't even know what else King has going on, but Candy Crush is like massive. So I don't know. It's interesting. Some people want to know where Andres went. He's still here. Typically when he dips out like that, he's just got some in real stuff he's dealing with. He'll let me know when it's time to get back in.
He's not right now. He's not keeping it clean. So he'll be back when he's ready to keep it clean.
Yeah, that could be it. If he comes back and we see a tip of a lotion bottle on the side.
Wait, I don't understand.
It's okay. You don't have to.
Can you explain it to
me? No, we keep it clean. Like in 5.
We're keeping it clean. The fact that the 2-inch destroyer doesn't know is almost disappointing.
That's because I don't need any
working. It's clear that he's on OnlyFans too. So
yeah. Do we have any final thoughts here on the Jim Ryan stuff?
we all forgot the real reason why he's actually stepping down. He's scared because Nintendo's opening the museum in March, so that's why he's stepping down in March. Duh.
There it is.
And then there's
Yeah,
there's
now I
There you go.
understand.
I just came back at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Eric just
Yeah.
said the reason Jim Ryan's stepping down in March is because the museum opens in March.
He's scared. He's scared.
He's scared of
Nintendo's
the
coming for him.
museum.
He's scared of the museum.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Thank
He's
you.
like, shit, we
perfect
can't.
sense.
Like, no one would come to a Sony
Jealous.
museum.
Yeah, nobody's coming to this. Yeah.
That's what it is.
That is what it is. You guys got anyone else got some final thoughts on the Jim Ryan stuff? I mean, look, he's been an industry icon.
I'll tell you this. I kind of am a little bit on that hype train of who is it going to be next, and do we see big changes? While yes, from a business perspective,
Reggie
Jim
Fils-Aimé.
Ryan, who?
Reggie Fils-Aimé.
That would
Oh
be
god, dude, that would be a legendary moment in
That would
gaming.
break the internet on fire.
Yeah.
I don't
Because he
care
stepped
what-
down.
who
He
it is,
stepped down.
but I
from
hope they're
Nintendo.
like kind of sexy, you know.
That's why Reggie Fils-Aimé. No,
I
I
think
mean, yeah.
I will
think
say,
Nintendo
I
would
think it would be an upgrade in job because he'd be running the entire PlayStation division.
Nintendo would probably hire Reggie back as a face just to stop him from going to Sony. I think that would be
I
the
don't know,
biggest.
Sony might offer him a deal that Nintendo can't. They do have a bit
That's,
deeper
that's,
pocket.
that's
I
very
think
true.
Reggie's like cool.
No, yeah, he's
He
chill.
made his money. He got the bag from
He's
GameStop.
still
for like
making
I
the
agree.
bag. He's still making
Yep.
the bag. What are we talking? He might be
I
making
think-
more now than he ever did at Nintendo. Dude, he's got
True.
book sales going on, book tours. He's got paid appearances and speeches
Hey,
everywhere.
He's a finger gun supporter.
He just works when he wants to.
I
and-
have photo evidence of him doing finger guns with me in New York a few months ago.
Well, there you
Hey,
go.
there you go.
See,
My proudest moment.
No, but I do think that it's exciting to see if we're going to see any changes in Sony. And you can say from a business perspective, you should just try to stay the course because they obviously what they're doing works. And Jim Ryan navigated this entire time that he's been there with them staying very successful at the top. But I wonder if we get somebody in there that really tries to shake things up and just do like crazy stuff that we haven't seen Sony attempt for a long time. Maybe do they get back into a true handheld gaming space and the portal's not just what they offer anymore, but something dedicated
I
again?
don't know about that, like extreme stuff right away, but I do think in order to help Sony's image more, whoever does come in is going to do stuff that's not hard, but that like is very consumer friendly that people will like.
partner
Like-
with the next Steam Deck.
Like adding a bunch of PS2 and PSP games to the
I mean,
Sure,
services.
right, to
Like,
the online.
small stuff that's like not hard, but just makes them look like, oh, we're really turning a new leaf now. You know what I mean?
We lowered the price of all of our subscriptions because we heard you. It's overpriced.
Right.
Ooh, that'd be a big move.
That would be a huge there's going to be something whenever this person's hired, their first moves are going to be like super consumer friendly. And I will say, don't get fooled by it. They're trying to buy loyalty.
Of course.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're going to buy loyalty.
That's the name of the game.
But
Because I've been watching Suits, this entire conversation just feels there's a lot more.
there's a lot
Oh,
more going
color.
on. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on we don't know.
Everything's an ulterior motive. No one's being
It
honest
is.
with you. There's no
Mhm.
such thing as a good person.
But that's what makes Suits so good because it's actually true. And there is like ulterior motive to all of this business shit. All of it.
Unless you're in love.
Oh, here we go. There could even be ulterior motives there.
I mean, yeah, there is.
So, all right, we're gonna get to our last topic. This is the fan question topic, where you guys can submit your questions in. All you gotta do is super chat at least $2 at our live show, and we will feature your question and or statement. If you want us to just comment on statements you have, so yeah, you guys, if you want to, you do. If you don't, you don't. It'll be as long as you guys make this segment be. Because the last segment of the podcast today, our first one is coming in here from Taker610 for $2, saying, it might be Switch 2 that outsells PS2. Do you guys think it's going to happen?
Disagree.
Why?
Well, the way it's phrased, it's implying Switch 1 won't, and I believe Switch 1 will.
Okay.
Switch 2 may also. That jury's still out on that. We need more details.
Yeah.
I will say that something that seems to be boding really well for Switch 2 is that it's going to have the best third-party support we've ever seen for a Nintendo system.
I mean,
At least based off the rumors.
I think
that
it's
we're
an
hearing
easy
currently.
yes. I mean, I think at some point, even like the worst selling systems will eventually outsell the PS2 just because, like, over time, so many more people game, and it's just so more socially acceptable than it was when the PS2 came out. Granted, what the PS2 had when it came out that really had it going for it was being a cheap DVD player as well.
Absolutely.
That's what's crazy about it. It was cheaper than other DVD players at the
Right.
time, and
Yes.
it also played games.
Yeah, a lot of
How-
people never even used it to play
Crazy
games,
now.
which is crazy.
The amount of houses that I went over to as a kid, and literally in the living room, how every family watched their movies was on the PS2, and they didn't use it for, well, the kids used it for games, but to them, to the parents, that was the DVD player. I mean, that's why a lot of families
DVD
bought it.
player. People used to like play music on their TVs a lot.
And honestly, I think you look at how the PS2 was like that, and that's what Xbox was trying to do with the 360, and then literally calling the Xbox One. They wanted
They wanted
extra
that
console sales to be
multimedia.
the all-in-one device, and now like any device can do all that. So
I
it's
mean,
like
whenever
not
I
a big
fire up
deal.
my PlayStation, it has been to the streaming app that I was logged into.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
true.
You're just waiting for Spider-Man 2.
Mm,
The movie.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't think Switch One's actually going to outsell PS2. I've been on this.
I think it'll come up just short. I agree with you, but I think Switch 2 will.
I think it might pass
breaking my heart.
PS. Might, like, it's at 130 million. I think it'll get to 145-ish million at some point.
It'll
next
come
year.
super close.
But I think once Switch 2 comes out, then sales are going to nosedive so bad that I just don't think there's going to be an extra 10 to 15 million in trailing
But-
sales.
All right. So
What I don't
as
understand
of
is Sombra,
June
why does
30th,
that
we're at-
break your heart? Because like it doesn't have to outsell it. Like that's
By the way,
no one
I
cares
don't
about that.
care
It
if
was,
does.
it was the
I
biggest
don't
success
know.
they could have ever hoped for.
Can you guys answer this? Like, why do we care? Why do fans care if it outsells PS2? Like, what does it matter?
Why do you watch sports?
Why do I watch?
Why do you care
why is-
that another group of men are beating another group of men or women?
Because
Why do you care?
But video games aren't a
They
competition.
bring us
Video
championships.
games are
to our city.
entertainment.
Oh no, it's competition.
How is it competition? I don't give
Nintendo-
two flying fucks how well other systems do. I don't buy a Switch thinking fuck Sony.
You know what though?
Yeah.
We'll go to a Bucks game saying screw
Hey,
the Heat.
if you've got that fanboy mentality, that's not keeping it clean. You gotta keep it
I
clean.
don't get
It's
it.
like with
That's
sports,
why I'm
if
asking.
I'm a Red
I don't
Sox fan,
understand.
F
I've
the
never
Yankees.
But you
watched
do
video
care
games.
about
Video games. If
sales.
I'm a video game fan,
Yeah.
I love video games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
hey,
really
keep it-
get
You know what?
why we care.
You're not keeping
But
it
we-
clean right now. I just need you to keep it clean. Just can you do me a favor?
Off.
I'm just kidding. I love you, Andres. I'm sorry. Take it back.
Anyway, all of us here care about Switch sales, correct?
Well, yes,
I
but
care
I
about-
think it's fun. I think it's fun, and I think this is why people care about it too. Is if it's historical, like you can say it to a friend who doesn't like. Why do I care about the dude? The Switch is the best-selling console of all time in gaming history. You're gonna miss out on that. You know, like I don't know. I feel like it's a fun fact to say. It's not that it's
It's
important.
like a trivia thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
But people
Well,
do
it
care
don't
about it,
really
especially the core audience. Your average consumer doesn't, but the core Nintendo audience, they care
I guess I'm not a
about.
core audience member because I just don't care.
Well,
why
I
are there
think-
hold on? Why are there news articles about box office sales for movies and things?
yeah,
of that
people
nature?
care about stuff like that.
People
There's
care about
articles
the success
about
of different
console
things.
sales too.
Box office matters because if you don't do well, there won't be any more.
Well, same thing goes for a console.
But
If the
my
Nintendo
console is
repeated the Wii U, we would be in a big problem right now.
Already, we've already hit the sales mark where we're getting more.
Right.
Like,
True,
so-
but
like,
wouldn't it be
That's what I'm saying.
fun
I
from a
completely
fan
agree.
perspective to say it went down as the best console ever? You
Nate,
know,
how
and
many
and
Tears
lived
of the
through it.
Kingdom
Yeah,
sales
until
videos
the
did
next
you
one
make?
does. Like
Exactly.
I said,
But
Nate, how
there's
many
al-
Tears of the Kingdom sales
Two.
videos did you make? Two? Only two?
Yeah,
Only two?
the launch sales and then the
Stream
updated
freeze.
sales when Nintendo released the numbers.
I'm gonna
but it was
pose.
in context of how well the game did, not being like, oh, it did, better. than-
We've only had 2 sales reports of Tears of the Kingdom, so what are we talking about?
Did I get kicked out?
No, it just
I
lagged
lost
for a
it.
second.
I just
Yeah,
I lost you guys for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
lagged for a second.
I'm gonna pose a.
Wait,
go-
I'm
go
getting
ahead.
owned and I didn't even hear it. How'd you own me?
I didn't own you.
Nobody did.
I was looking at the
Yeah,
chat. Someone said I
I
was
disagree
getting
with
owned.
that. I disagree with that. As
I didn't
someone
even
that
hear
takes
the
your side,
response.
90% of the time, I take offense to that. Also, that's not keeping it clean.
Oh,
But-
jeez.
But I mean, we all pay attention to news because we care about how successful things are. And it doesn't have to mean you hate other platforms. Like going back to the sports analogy, I watch basketball teams just because I think they're good. Yes, my favorite team is the Miami Heat, but I'll still watch a Bucks versus Nets game.
So like I'll watch other basketball games. Yeah, I just enjoy
exactly. But you also care about games, so maybe you don't care about Sony and Microsoft as much as you do Nintendo.
There's no allegiance. There's no local allegiance.
I just don't. But here's the thing.
That's a good point too, right? We're just talking about 3 companies versus 30 NBA teams.
Yeah.
But it's still like one of those things that but the you can watch basketball just to enjoy it, which I do. But when obviously my team is playing, I want them to win, and I care about that. I don't care. I'm not on like people look at me like, oh, you're Nintendo Prime, your team Nintendo. I'm like, no, I just play what I enjoy. I own all the damn systems. I don't care who the best selling system is. It literally doesn't matter to me. All that matters is that it sells enough that we keep getting more of them. Like we debated, but Tears of the Kingdom sell more than Breath of the Wild. Does it really matter as long as it sells well? I mean, that's the big thing. It sold well. We're good. We're getting more Zelda. Awesome.
We still talk about it though, because it's interesting to talk about.
And it's a good indication of health to say that. It's also a good indication of health of the business or the console or even the franchise to say that, wow, the newest one that they released broke all the previous records, and whether
I'm
that
not
be
saying it doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying as long as they are in the best financial position possible, which they really wouldn't be in a different position financially if it broke the record. They're going to be equally good no matter what. I mean, technically, I guess you could say yes, but you know what I mean? We're at the point we need to be. And that's what I care about the most. Now, would it be cool? Like, does that matter? Yeah, it does. But I think the thing that matters the most has already happened. And that's why I'm like,
I'm going to go out on a limb, though. Taker610 specifically brought up Switch 2. I am just going to make a prediction. It will outsell PS2. It will also outsell the original Switch.
I agree.
It's going to hit on more markets. It's going to be more consumer friendly, and it's going to have all the games.
This is going to be the first generation in decades where Nintendo hits it back to back and keeps that momentum going.
All right, I'll make a different prediction. I predict that Switch 3 will outsell Switch 1 and not Switch 2 combined, but it will be the best selling Nintendo platform ever. But I do not think Switch 2 will beat Switch 1.
Predicting the Switch 3 is even going to exist is already a big prediction.
Oh yeah, well, I'm bold.
Nintendo doesn't do triplets like this, so this will be interesting.
Yep,
so I do.
Nintendo.
I do triplets like that.
This is a new Nintendo. So I mean,
however, has Nintendo ever had back-to-back platforms that have sold over 100 million systems? No. And
well, if you count portable,
that wasn't back-to-back. That was same time. DS and Wii was same time. They literally.
That's true.
That you could argue that was a golden age of Nintendo, at least in terms of sales.
250 million systems.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Software sales are strong now, though.
Yeah, the strongest they've ever been. First system they've had to go over $1 billion.
Yeah.
I would like to pose. Go ahead, Andres, if you're still finishing your thought.
Go on.
I would like to pose an idea that could. I mean, it might be thinking too far in the future. But the same way that, yes, there will be a bigger gaming market and every kid that grows up now pretty much is a gamer, there's also the argument that games are evolving and that the traditional consoles might not sell the way that we're seeing them sell right now 5-10 years in the future. In the sense that you have, say, Apple steps in and really tries to double down on the iPhone 15 Pro being a native game machine, or Microsoft gets xCloud figured out to such a low latency thing that it's kind of like whatever device you have is what you game on. Like, we could very well be talking about a somewhat different landscape by the time we're getting to the end of the Switch 2's life cycle than what we are seeing right now. I think that's maybe like a generation. Maybe the Switch 2 does actually outsell the Switch and it is just done better. And then that kind of starts to be more of a factor like 10 years down the line. But I could see a world where the same way that there's not like that one big popular franchise that every kid is obsessed with anymore because there's so much content out there between Netflix and YouTube and everything else, that could kind of fizzle into gaming too, where everybody just plays on the device that they have and there's not that one mega success that breaks those type of numbers in terms of console sales. It's a thought.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, another way that they could do it is they just call it like the Nintendo Switch Plus, and they argue that it's the same family of systems, and just keep extending this. And
If
the sales goes past everything.
if this has the Switch name and they somehow pull off the Game Boy to Game Boy Color thing where it's in the same family, case closed. It's going to be. I mean. But then that just feels like that's Nintendo counting it that way at that point instead of them really winning it.
But I think I would be like against that.
I would too. It feels like they're cheating. I mean, it's for if we actually do agree that we care about them winning that trophy, quote unquote, or not, of the best historical gaming console sales of all time, then it would be cheating to call something 7 years later, or 8 years later, in the same family.
It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be.
I just had to throw it out there. It's for fun.
No, I mean it's definitely
one other thing that helped
Nintendo might do it. I mean,
one other thing that helped the PS2 was they took out backwards compatibility for PS2 games on the PS3 after like the first couple models. So like within a year, they cut the price on the PS3 in order to do that. They removed backwards compatibility, and for that reason, they started making the PS2 Slim, which was like $99, and they sold that sucker till like the 2010s. Yeah, I think the last game that came out for the PS2 was like 2013 or 2014. And because the PS3 wasn't backwards compatible, that's something that really lifted the PS2, in addition to everything else we talked about. And I think the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible, which leads to what Nate said, that when the Switch 2 comes out, the sales will really die because there's no reason.
That's true. Unless they did that with Nintendo did that with the Wii. If you think about it, at the very end, they took out the GameCube support and then they sold it for, wasn't it $99 also, or something crazy dirt cheap? Yeah. So imagine if there's a world where even though it's backwards compatible, I don't think so either. Yeah, it wasn't the same way. I think that worked for the PlayStation 2 because there were still games coming out for it, and
the Wii U could play Wii games. So
yes,
and no one wanted that anyways. So
I do think there is an interesting difference.
So well at the beginning that everyone that wanted one already had one.
True.
I do think there's an interesting difference to make with Wii backwards compatibility though, because Smash was such a big deal, and Melee, like using game controllers in Smash, was such a big deal that taking the backwards compatibility out of the Wii and not being able to plug in your GameCube controllers anymore, that matters more than other systems that lost backwards compatibility. Just putting that out there. Not that I think it made a big difference, but you can't plug in your GameCube controller to play Brawl. It ain't right.
I was so happy when I saw that USB adapter that they released for the Wii U for Smash, because that's how important the game. To this day, I only play Smash with the GameCube controller.
You can still plug it into your Switch. That's how important it is. I actually have no problem playing on the Pro Controller. I think the Pro Controller is great.
A lot of people, some of my friends that have grown up with playing my entire life on Smash Bros. Have now switched to the Pro Controller, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it. I love the button layout on GameCube.
Here's the thing about Smash.
Beautiful controller you got there.
It takes no skill. You can just smash buttons and just be good as any good competitive player. Just because I have to say one thing to get me canceled.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jake's trying to get canceled tonight. Hey, that's not keeping it clean, Jake.
You're right. That's not keeping it. I try to get canceled every night. To be fair.
All right then.
Okay.
Charles Trudell coming in here. Just a comment from earlier for $2 saying, "Oh, the November Amiibo offer Nintendo Select." So is that when I brought that up? Is that the first time you guys even thought about that idea?
I've just thought we're so far past the window when Nintendo normally does it that they're probably not going to do it on the Switch. Yeah. And I also don't think they will if Switch 2 is backwards compatible, because I think they know there's a whole percentage of people who are going to go buy it for the first time and buy Tears of the Kingdom at $70, and they're going to buy Super Mario Bros. Wonder at $60.
That's what the deluxe versions are for.
Well, yeah, and they very well could do that as well, but I would.
They also still have the 2-game deal on for NSO members.
I could see them doing it. I could see them still doing it for certain games, like Mario Odyssey was a good one because, that was evergreen for a while. It really died off. Yeah. So giving people that haven't had those games, or possibly people that didn't have an OG Switch, a bigger selection of software to choose from at the beginning to get them hooked on the system. I mean, there's things about it that make sense.
Yeah, so I guess the thing is they've done deals throughout the generation. Like there was a Mario deal during the 35th anniversary, you could get certain Mario games for cheaper. Every once in a while, they have a sale for a certain grouping of
But
games,
not a
and
permanent like
Yeah,
price.
not like a
Well,
price adjustment.
it's
just a
better
sale.
that way because they can continue to come up with different strategies to try to get people to buy different groupings of games. And I just think they're going to do that. I don't think that I thought it was a good idea, but once I thought about it a little bit more and how they've had different types of deals throughout the generation, I think they're going to continue with that. But also something else to consider is, what was I going to say? Damn it, brain. Damn it, I had something. It's gone. Oh well.
All right.
I'll come back to it later.
It happens to like 1 out of 5 guys, I think. Don't worry.
Not keeping it clean over there.
It's just because it's past my bedtime.
That's
Yeah.
all right. It's not even. This is actually early on the podcast,
Right.
To be honest,
It is.
Don't
Yeah.
tell me past your bedtime. I know how late you stay up.
I didn't even have any. I didn't have
Past
any.
my,
Bud
That's
Lights
kinda
tonight.
creepy.
it's past my
Anything.
time to be interacting with people.
I've seen your podcast go later than this. What are you?
Again,
you're interacting with
done by this
Brandon.
point. If
You're
you watch my
interacting with
podcast,
Brandon.
if you watch my podcast past 10:30, you know that I'm like delirious already.
Andres is supposed to
Or
be
it's a
watching
really
Suits
big,
by now.
or it's a big
and he's
night,
not.
big topic. You got
He's
hundreds.
gonna
of
be dreaming about Suits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally what it is.
I think
That's-
I
that's-
legitimately had a couple dreams about Suits when I was like in the middle of binging it.
Yeah. So, we got this Nintendo Prime guy coming in. I don't know who he is. He owns a private island, I've been told. He says, "Do you have any advice for what it takes to be a successful on YouTube? Keep it clean."
Hold on, I got this one.
Great super chat.
Ready, guys? You find a friend who's on YouTube, you jump on their podcast, and you say absolutely nothing. That's how you do it.
You should take that advice because I wish you would say less.
Oh, don't worry, I'm shooting it now, and I'll leave it to the experts.
So I'll throw that to the other fellow YouTubers out there because I feel like it's a little ironic if I answer the question. So,
I'll
Well, you're
go.
the most
I'll
successful
go
one,
last.
right?
I'm
Well,
the
no,
only-
actually,
well, you're saying
a lot of
the only
subscribers.
successful. Whoa!
I
You're
said most
selling yourself short.
successful. I was
I'm not-
arguing, but well, it's relative.
Yeah, success is relative. If you
Yeah,
believe you're
Eric,
successful, you're successful.
Listen.
not
Eric has the most notoriety with the least. Well, and I don't think I'm gonna stop talking because no matter what I say, I feel like I'm gonna insult somebody.
No, you're
so
not.
I'm just gonna
Absolutely
shut
not. You will not
Hey,
insult
just keep
me
it
at all.
clean.
up. I
There's
was gonna
nothing
say
you can
that you
say.
have the most notoriety with the least amount of effort.
That you're not wrong. I would agree with that. So,
And what was he saying? Have a friend who's a content creator and just be on the show.
and say absolutely nothing.
Good advice.
Mhm.
All right. so
Honestly,
the other people.
I'll say this real quick. I mean, I think if you're just starting YouTube or you have a very small channel, like less than like 1K subscribers, I think the best thing that you can do in this day and age on YouTube is live stream. Even if you don't want to be a streamer, because when I started my channel, it was late 2019, basically 2020. But I had 0 subscribers, and all I did was live stream me playing Pokemon for 5 to 8 hours a day, every day for 30 days. And in 30 days, I went from 0 to 1K. And that got me a small base of people to start watching my videos. And then I would make more videos about. I always made videos about stuff that was trending, but also stuff that I really was passionate about and interested in. And that helped a lot. Like when Animal Crossing came out, I made a bunch of videos that popped off for that. And then, of course, a lot of you guys know, 6 months after that, when I tried to pre-order a PS5, I started live streaming that. And then, even though I never wanted to be a streamer, I started enjoying live streaming. But even if you know that you don't want to be a streamer and you don't want to fall in love with it by accident, you just want to make videos. That's your only goal. You never want to stream. Start by streaming because your videos won't. It's very low chance they pop up in the algorithm. But if you stream, you'll have a loyal group of people that will always check out your new videos for the most part.
That's good advice. I would say to piggyback off of that, not only just the play around probably with different content styles and see what you enjoy the most, but also make sure you see so much because nowadays people associate YouTubers with like high income and it's like, okay, that must be nice for the people who are pulling that off. But you really have to make sure you don't pick a niche or whatever you're going to target for paying the bills. It has to be something you like truly care about, love, and are passionate about, because otherwise, if it feels like a job, you're not going to want to do it. It's not going to be a like to keep yourself going to like consistently post content. If that's what you want to do, you really do have to make it about something that you love to talk about naturally. And then it's something you're excited to do, as opposed to it being like, oh, I got to do this because I committed to this or whatever it is. But I also think
so many big games came out that I skipped over because I just wasn't interested in them. And then like after Animal Crossing, the biggest thing for me was the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC. And that was my first live stream where I got over 10,000 people watching. Like it got over 100,000 views. Wow. And that was like the most obscure random thing to pop off. But it was something that I really cared about, like, and I had the background on it, so it was easy for me. It makes it way easier when you're passionate about it too. I just couldn't agree more with everything you said.
Got anything to add, Andres?
I think I remember what I was talking about with the amiibo. Yeah, you guys it was already kind of discussed, but I just was gonna say that, I think Nintendo keeping the pricing of their games where they're at, having the discounts, but also by keeping the price, it facilitates the evergreen sales to maintain. Nintendo doesn't like to drop the value of their games, and they're still doing well now. Then there's no need to drop the price of them permanently. That said, in terms of like YouTube advice, not that I feel like I'm extremely successful on YouTube, but that is all relative. It is ultimately down to being very unhealthy about this, because it's very competitive. And I think if you don't love it, you shouldn't do it. But also, you have to be willing to try. And I've talked to way too many people who have had ideas and don't execute. You got to try. If you waste too much time just thinking about it and like kind of envisioning it but never actually doing it, you're gonna miss the boat. You just got to do it. That's the most important step, and I think that's the biggest barrier of entry for most people. And I think you also should open to experimentation. And when I say that, I don't mean do weird stuff. I just mean be willing to try out different ideas. Not in a public space. Anyway, like, yeah, you should, explore different things, find what you enjoy, and when you find that thing you enjoy, continue with it. And if you truly enjoy it, you will be willing to put more work into it than other things, and that will eventually find
the number one thing I hear people say that want to do YouTube is they like, it's just not the right time. Like, I'm gonna wait till I buy this equipment, or I'm gonna wait till this is happening. Like, no, just do it now with whatever you've got going on. You have some free time, especially if you're a gamer. You know what I mean? Take some of that time to talk about gaming news or whatever. Even if you're using your normal video game playing time, you're still talking about something that you like. Like, that's kind of can sound harsh, but honestly, it's just to try to help you. Like, you can do it in your current circumstances.
I mean,
and then if stuff does get better in 6 months, it's just going to be easier.
The biggest thing is don't think too much about it. Just do it. If you're thinking about it, just do it. Like I mean, even Mr. Beast gives that advice sometimes. He's like, hey man, go look at the first videos on my channel. Like, they're garbage. Like, it doesn't matter. He just knew what he wanted to do, so he just did it. And so just do it. Like, the hardest thing is like waiting or thinking you need equipment or thinking like, dude, if you have a cell phone, you have everything you need. You can record your voice with your cell phone. If you want to be on camera, you can do video with your cell phone. You can even edit on your cell phone. Like, everything you need is already there in your pocket just to get started. Like, it's not.
It's easier to get in now than what it used to be. I'll say that. Yeah, I remember back in like 2010, 2011, when I was starting college, I had this idea to do kind of like this sort of blog with a couple of friends. Like, we called it Half a Plan, right? Because it was meant to just kind of like have fun and talk about different cool nerdy things, right? And I wanted to talk about games then, but since it was Half a Plan, it only went on for like a month. But I kind of wish maybe I devoted some of that effort into doing YouTube then, because had I started doing YouTube then, I probably would have like, I don't know, 1 million subscribers right now. So I think the sooner you start, the better.
Yep.
If you had started doing Nintendo content, I bet the Switch would have outsold the PS2 by now.
Probably, yeah.
No, and
As the
I
biggest
agree
fan,
in general that like passion's important. If you're not passionate about it,
Mhm.
don't do it. Don't waste your time doing something you don't like. Also, don't. This is like the biggest advice I give to people when I get asked this question is just don't go into YouTube expecting to make money. Do it first because you love it. And if you want to build it into something, have a plan. But first remember that you're doing it because you love it. And if
Same
you
thing is true for OnlyFans. I'll say that.
if you like, and this happens to YouTubers, there's a lot of channels way bigger than mine. They get less views, and it's because they lost the passion. They're just doing it still because they make money. And like that's a hard thing too. Is if you do get to the point that you're making money that actually matters on YouTube, still don't let that distract you from why you're doing what you do and why you enjoy it. Because if you focus so much on the money, you end up like not enjoying it. And I get this criticism all the time. Hey, why are you making so many Switch 2 videos? Yeah, obviously they get good views, but it ain't just because of the money. I actually love talking about upcoming technology. It's something I'm super passionate about.
Yeah, it's something he's been passionate about.
I've been passionate about my entire
kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
My entire life.
kids.
So like this is what I like to do. So I love that I get to hype up this system and stuff like that. What's another thing that you guys saw me do a lot of videos on? I'm super passionate about Zelda. So I had all these Zelda videos. It wasn't just because they were getting views. I actually legitimately love reporting and talking about Zelda stuff. So
that was such a fun time.
yeah, it
Every
was.
day.
Every day it was
like,
something
yeah.
new, something exciting. Like, a few
Yeah.
seconds of footage in a commercial, you get super hyped about it. And like people have, you're just doing it for the money. No, I'm legitimately sitting back here smiling, making content, loving that. Like I'm hyper examining these 3 extra seconds of footage. It's fun.
If
So-
anything, I would say YouTube comments suck.
Oh,
Yeah, they
social
suck.
media comments in general can suck.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
Social
media.
comments.
It's just being online in general.
The
But you
bigger
definitely
you get, the more shit you get, and it's kind of unfortunate because like Nate's totally right. Like you should do this because you love it, and if you are under the impression that YouTubers do things for money, you're in for like you just don't understand. You don't
It's
get
also
it.
unrealistic.
It's,
People think you make way more money than you do. There was a person on X the other day that was like, "Oh yeah, you just make these videos to get 10,000 views and make money." And I'm like, "Dude, yeah, I'm really salivating that $20 I made on my last 10K video." He's like, "Oh, you're lying. You forgot a few zeros." Send him a screenshot. "Oh, don't you know that you can change things? I know that you can go onto the browser and make it say whatever you want." All right, cool. Well, here's a video of me going into my back end, clicking on the video, and hey, look at that. I only made $21.
yeah.
Like it doesn't make as much money as you think it does. And here's the thing: I actually do YouTube full time. It is my job. It's been my only job since November of last year. And the crazy thing about it is the only reason that I can actually do it full time is because I happen to have a ton of community support on all my live streams that I still don't understand why I'm getting it and where the hell it comes from. I don't get why there's, we have like 307 members, paid members at the moment. 120 something of those are gifted $5 memberships. Where the hell is that coming from? Bama Hut. Yeah, shout out to you, buddy. But like, it's crazy, like the amount of community support that I get, and that's really what enables me to keep going. Not what the views are on the videos. Like, it'd be nice if my videos made all the money and it's cool, but it's not really like there is a goal in the back of my mind because it's my job, but also I'm good. Like I love what I do. And look, it Switch 2 bombs and doesn't do well. I'm still gonna make videos. Like I'm passionate about this stuff. I'm not gonna people are like, oh, you're gonna pivot and be a PS5 channel. Like, no, dude, I'm passionate about Nintendo. I'm gonna keep making videos on Nintendo stuff. It is what it is. Like you gotta love what you're doing. That's first and foremost. Even if I ever quit doing it full time, go back working a full time job somewhere else, I'm still gonna make videos. I'm just not gonna make them as often, but I'll still make them. I'm not going away. I love it.
It's interesting because there was a point where I wasn't really even kind of thinking about trying to do YouTube full time. Like shortly before I went into being YouTube full time effort. But I was kind of thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna do this forever. Like there is not like even if I have to do other type of work, like I can't really envision myself stopping. It's part of what I do. because I enjoy this. I like talking about games. I like making thumbnails. I like making really cool, crazy Nintendo theories. That gets me going.
How
That's
about
why
you
I
like
do
making
it.
thumbnails? I might need to hire you because I hate making thumbnails.
Oh,
The
really?
one part of the job I hate. I hate making thumbnails.
You know what I hate doing? B-roll. I hate B-roll.
B-roll doesn't matter.
Really, B-roll is one of my favorite parts.
Yeah,
Surprisingly
B-roll's
enough, finding the
nice.
perfect
Maybe
parts in a
we should-
trailer to put on.
maybe
Yeah,
we
My
should just-
favorite part is adding background music.
Well, look at that.
Oh,
We'll
that-
have
I do
all
like
us
that part.
together,
That part's fun.
and we'll have the perfect YouTuber who loves everything.
What if we just did each other's parts? Like, I'll make the thumbnails. You could put the background music. You do the B-roll.
B-roll, yeah.
Yeah.
There
could
we
work.
We all keep it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the name of the channel. Keep it clean.
Keep it clean.
All right.
Hold on. I do want to throw this out there though for Andre. You have over 10,000 subscribers, right? So you are already doing better than 98.2% of YouTubers. Just to throw that out there.
Talking
Yeah.
about me?
Yes.
I have 32, but
Yeah, I know. You have
Yeah.
over 10,000.
He's just saying because you have over 10,000, you're at the
You have
top.
You're probably
2%.
99 and
You're-
over 99.
You're
Yeah.
probably in the top 1.5% of YouTube.
Yeah.
Right now.
oh
Yeah.
damn.
I would
And two
also
inches
Like
is
putting
more
that
than
in
enough.
perspective,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
the success of
2%.
the channel, like, oh, I don't know, it's all relative. Well, here's the relative fact. You're in the
Yeah.
top 1.5% of all creators. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Like-
Also, just to my final thoughts on that is comparison is legitimately the thief of all joy in the sense that if you're looking at everybody else around you and what numbers they have instead of valuing like the community that you've already built, or
See, that's how
just
I feel
that
about
you're
Switch
building there.
console sales versus PS2. You couldn't have said it better.
That's a good way to tie it back to that.
Maybe
But
that's why we have that difference in philosophy.
It's very possible. I just think that if you're starting out, nobody's going to be and I don't ever have aspirations to make it to Mr. Beast level. That's not what I care about. I care about doing something that I love that can hopefully one day pay the bills full time. That's it. But for some people, like Mr. Beast, being the best on YouTube is actually what drives him and being the most popular and the most successful. But that doesn't mean but if you're starting out, you shouldn't let the fear of being a small channel stop you, because the minute you start to get one or two comments from people that you can go back and forth and have an enjoyable conversation with, that's already a win and more than what some people ever accomplish. You just got to enjoy the journey all along the way too.
Absolutely.
Really important.
Absolutely. We have one last question submitted unless somebody else gets them in. Oh, look, it's that Nintendo Prime bastard again. I don't know what he's doing. He says, remember, you have to super chat to get your questions in. $5. Apparently, I'll do a shot. I don't know where he is. He better be doing the shots. He asked, what are your top 5 favorite games of all time and why?
What a fun question.
Oof.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'll let one of you guys
That's
start.
Not fair.
You know what, Nate? You've been taking them last. Why don't you take this one? Keep it clean.
Well, here's the thing. I've already
Man.
answered this question. Like several
All right.
times.
Fair.
So-
Don't have a top 5.
Eric,
have
Eric,
top
do you know
five?
yours off the top of your head?
Whoa,
Eric?
whoa. You don't have a top 5?
Well,
Because
it can not be set in
changes.
stone. That's
it
yeah.
changes.
You can say what you think your top 5 might be in this moment.
Yeah, in
and
this moment.
oh, that's okay. That's
God.
totally
These
fair.
are Prime 1, 2, and 3. There's 3.
Hey, just keep it
And
clean.
then Tears of the Kingdom, and
Metroid
then
Prime Remastered
some Mario or
and-
something. I don't know.
Dread.
Now I'm gonna pick different games just to spite you.
It's your list. You're spiting yourself. Oh, he's got to go Google it up. He's got to Google it up.
No, I have my sticky notes up. I'm writing down the
Oh,
list.
there's sticky notes up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Eric,
I
you
mean,
got-
I'm not completely sure on my order, but I know my number 1, and I think I know my top 5.
okay, you go
Yeah.
first then.
All right, so number 1, easy. Final Fantasy VII OG on PS1. That's probably the game that got me into gaming. I played it when I was 6 years old, and it changed my whole life.
Nice.
Again, that's one of my go-to games that I replay. I just that game fascinated me and just stayed with me forever. My most recent game that's in my top 5 for sure is God of War Ragnarok.
Nice.
The story, I thought God of War for PS4 was okay. Didn't go crazy about it. Thought it was a pretty good game, but for some reason, Ragnarok just blew me away. That a game hasn't done. So that's probably my second favorite because that it was since Final Fantasy VII. To experience a game blowing me away like that, and again, it was the story. That's the X factor for me in my favorite games. So that's probably number 2. Then, oh yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, Breath of the Wild became one of my favorite games, but then Tears of the Kingdom for me, I know that not everyone feels the way, but for me, it improved on everything. Breath of the Wild, and sure, there's a couple niche things that Breath of the Wild might have done better, but for me, just I don't know. When I first played Breath of the Wild, I've told you this before. I didn't really like it, and I put it down. And then a year later, I came back to it when I was stuck in the hospital for like 3 weeks, and that's when it clicked. And then I couldn't get enough of it. But then when I played Tears of the Kingdom, it was that same experience as when Breath of the Wild clicked, but I had it from day one. So that's why I put Tears of the Kingdom ahead of it. And then I'll probably Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver. As you know, I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and I really like the first 2 gens the most still, even though I've played every gen 100 times. But what they did in Gen 4 with those Gen 2 remakes, I thought that was peak. Then probably Persona 5. Probably my favorite PS4 game. And if it's not, it's tied with Horizon Zero Dawn for PS4. So I again, I might be forgetting something, but I think that would be my top 5.
All right. Huntress, you got your sticky note ready? You need more time?
Kinda, yeah. I got it.
Okay.
I'm gonna cheat a little bit.
It's all right.
Because it's just so hard because there's certain games I loved. I didn't like, I like Paper Mario games, Luigi's Mansion, Wave Race, Kid Icarus Uprising, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Monster Hunter. Like, it's tough. So I'm gonna give you 6.5 games, 6.67. All right. So this is honorable mention. All right. Oh, I have this is just a terrible list. Anyways, so I'm just gonna put blanket Super Mario because I can't just pick a single 3D it's 3D Mario game specifically, but I can't pick a specific 3D Mario game. But I have 100%ed every single 3D Mario game, and
Galaxy.
You're telling me you can't zero in on Sunshine, on Andres? Come on.
I lied. Actually, I haven't. That's the
That-
one game I haven't 100%ed of the 3D Mario's.
That's my controversial take on 3D Marios. That's my favorite one, believe it or not.
But I think,
legitimately.
interestingly,
Jeffrey
I have a
Lopez,
lot of
time.
nostalgia for Mario Sunshine. I do plan on 100%ing it. Actually, I just haven't gone around to getting all the blue coins. It's tough, but like, and I can't just pick one above them all. So that's why I'm just saying blanket Super Mario.
It was an honorable mention, anyways. Wasn't top.
But
five.
Yeah,
you are referring to specifically 3D Mario, right?
3D. Yeah.
yes,
yeah.
yeah. I don't dislike the
Prefers the
2D
3D.
Mario's, but yeah, I do include 3D Land in that lineup though, which
And
is
obviously 3D World.
yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
All right, so that's your top 5. Thanks.
Well, no.
Keep going.
No. All right, so this is
that all the 3D Marios are just missed the cut.
yeah. It's probably like one of those things where they kind of steal votes from each other.
Yeah, probably.
So it's what it is. On that note, this is also like a BS answer. I'm just gonna say Xenoblade. I can't pick a single Xenoblade game, but I will replay all of them. And I
Can
have
we at least
replayed all of them.
remove 2 from the list?
No, I actually almost picked 2.
You wouldn't put 3 or 1 over 2?
Personally, I just really enjoy the story and world of 2 like a lot. I really love the Cloud Sea. I love the giant titans that you can see moving in the background. I really love the cast. No. Also, the combat system is the best. Like it's just no, can't.
All right.
If anything, you might even be convincing me to put 2 above the rest.
Sounds like you're convincing yourself.
I don't know because 3's really good.
Yeah.
But one's just Xenoblade, okay? You should just play. You should just get all of them and play them from beginning to end, and then do it again.
Even though they're completely independent games that really don't have anything to do with each other.
Is top 5.
That is not true. The stories are all connected.
In the way Final Fantasy games are connected.
No, they're pretty connected.
No, they're literally connected if you play everything. But
they're
you can enjoy them without playing the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are self-contained in like the story they tell within, but
There
there's
is
related. There's
The
relation.
world is connected.
Yeah. Well,
there are
and
characters
and
that
and there's characters and there's
But
And
they
the
won't be
events.
the main
the last
characters.
DLC they dropped
fine.
like connected everything,
Sure. Which is also
Eh,
true for Final
which is why it's
Fantasy.
called Future Connected. Anyway,
it's
Beam
very
or whatever the hell
connected.
it's called.
They're very connected, except for Xenoblade X. That one's yeah. Anyway, now I'm getting back to more like single games.
Yeah.
Even though so F-Zero GX. Whenever I play F-Zero GX, the straight complete bliss it gives me is just it's out of this world. Like when you play F-Zero GX and you boost above a ramp and you are just gliding at like thousands of kilometers per hour and you hear the music kind of blasting, like it just gives you this incredible sense of freedom and you're just like, let's freaking go. And you just boost all your life out. If you hit anything, you blow up. But the stakes makes it more interesting. You just barely get first with just like a millisecond left, like of a difference between
We're
first
still
and
talking
second.
about a
Like,
game, right?
oh, yep.
F-Zero.
Alright, as long as you're,
Yeah,
as long as you're
yeah,
keeping it
F-Zero
clean.
GX. It's just an amazing experience, and I kind of wish they would have announced that already. But maybe it'll be even better on Switch too.
99.
They better.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would argue
99's
that-
great. 99's great, but 99 is
Better
just
than
like
people expected it to be when they first heard about it.
yeah. But GX is to me literally the best racing game ever made. That's how
I would
good it
I
is.
would agree with that statement, believe it or not. And I think as far, especially whenever it comes to fast reaction times and how fast it feels like you're moving, like you said, like to drive home that point, it is literally you feel like you don't have like less than a millisecond to react to anything that's about to happen, any twist or turn, and you really have to memorize the stages to have a fighting shot at doing that thing on the highest difficulty. I mean, it's insane. So much fun.
It's amazing, but yeah, also it may lead to you breaking your GameCube controller. So
That too.
and not out of frustration, although that could be an option. It may just because like if you try to do snaking, which is a really in Mario Kart, it's not as crazy of a mechanic, but in F-Zero, it's like an insane thing. You'll probably rip off like the thumb pad of the control stick after a while. It's intense. Anyways, yeah, GX is the best racing game ever made. The best horror game ever made is Resident Evil 4. And I've replayed that game like 10 times.
Which
And
version?
That's a good question. I haven't played the remake yet. I'd absolutely need to. So that's I'm curious.
Are you like do you like the Wii controls or do you like one of the traditional
Oh, I think the Wii
consoles?
controls are very good.
Yeah.
I would say that Resident Evil Wii Edition is the best of the original versions.
Sure. Okay.
Because it has the GameCube visuals, which were better than the PS2, but it has the PS2 extras. Then it also adds the pointer controls, which I think actually make the game a little bit faster and a little bit easier, but
Mhm.
they're fun. They're
Yeah,
fun.
it's a good game
So,
for that. Works well.
yeah. Yeah, so I guess I would say I would prefer I do kind of prefer the Wii version, although I will also argue that I don't like the setup of the Nintendo Wii, how there's like a sensor bar, and depending on how your living room setup is or wherever you're playing, they can get kind of awkward.
Sure.
So in general, I don't actually like IR controls just because if you don't have the setup right, it's really annoying. But when the setup is right, it feels really good. Otherwise, I guess I'm fine with the modern remastered versions, which are it's a game.
Yeah.
Like I have no problem playing it on Switch. I have it on Switch. It's fine. I like it as is. But after that, for I guess my second greatest game of all time, it is Metroid Prime.
Wait,
think
isn't this your
there it
third?
is.
Well, I said Xenoblade F-Zero, Resident Evil 4, and it's a
Oh yeah, Xenoblade. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
even though I didn't pick a specific one. Yeah. But yeah, Metroid Prime, it's a straight masterpiece. I think everyone agrees. So yeah, it's incredible. I've replayed that game many times. It's one of the most. It's a very that's actually one of the things that kind of led to me doing this list. Every game on this list I've replayed multiple times, and I have no problem going back to them. They're that good, but also they were amazing the first time. Like it's just incredible. But the final game,
So, Zelda?
well, about that.
Uh-oh.
It is Zelda, but it's not one game. I just bunched Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as one game because it's hard for me to distinguish it. For me, it's one continuous adventure. And I'll tell you that shortly before Tears of the Kingdom came out, I was undecided if Breath of the Wild was my favorite game of all time. Because I would say for years growing up, I was always like, "Oh, Ocarina of Time, Ocarina of Time." Like that was kind of like the easy
Me as well.
that was the easy choice. And it's funny is that because of the latest Zelda, is almost like Ocarina of Time is like no longer in the list anymore, which feels unfair. And then also Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, those are also like they're all up there, right? But yeah, Breath
I
of the
would
Wild,
love an
like whenever I play the
Ocarina
game,
remake as a side project, like not like to replace a mainline release, but
oh, I really hope they do that. I think they need something Zelda early to kind of showcase the Switch hardware. So I'm
I still
rooting for
think
a
they could do
remake.
another brand new 2D Zelda.
They should do
sooner
that
than
too.
I
In the-
think I wouldn't be surprised if that's already done.
yeah, in
That's
the
kind of
gap
yeah.
between the
I
next
remember that was my
mainline
all my
Zelda, that should be
predictions
there.
for the Nintendo Direct. They would just announce that title screen.
You know how I was showcasing how like there's some gaps next year, right? Even if we assume like the Switch 2 launch, like I could see 2D Zelda being. I think something Zelda's
They're
coming out
trying to
next
do
year,
one Zelda a year, right? And we have nothing on the books, right?
roughly. Yeah, either that or Twilight Princess Wind Waker finally get dropped.
Yeah, 2022 kind of killed that though. The one Zelda a year.
Yeah, but that's the
Mm.
one exception. I think just because they had Tears of the Kingdom planned,
That's true.
and it was coming out in May. It's such a big release, so they figured it probably makes more sense just to delay that and not shove in another Zelda when we don't really need it, and
Yeah,
save
Skyward Sword
things.
was 2021.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think they just figured they would save Twilight Princess and Wind Waker for the long gap. It made more sense to save something like that for then as opposed to just rushing it out
I agree.
to
Yeah.
satisfy that rule
I
of
think
one
that's what they're
Zelda per
doing.
year. Yeah. So, but yeah, Ocarina of Time. I mean, not Ocarina of Time. Freudian
Whoa,
slip.
no, that's the real
uh,
number one.
It's come back. No, but Breath of the Wild. I think it's just there's elements from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom like together. Like they just do so much for me. Like I was rewatching the ending scene for Tears of the Kingdom for like the 5th time.
So
Still
good.
gave me goosebumps.
It's so
Still
good.
gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, crazy.
So
One of the
good.
best ever in the whole series. So good.
Yeah.
All right,
Eric.
Sunbro. Oh wait, Eric, you ready?
I'm gonna go to Eric. Eric's got games. He's played enough for 5.
I just want to make sure
He's only played 5
No,
total games.
yeah,
in
ready to
life.
go.
Right? I've only played 5 total games my whole life, but you know.
Madden.
Yeah. Oh, no.
No, none of the Maddens will make any of the top list.
I mean,
If I wasn't an NFL fan,
Was it-
I would not even play.
06 with the old training camps was
No,
probably the best one.
2K5.
Yeah, 2K5 was better.
2K5 was
But-
the best.
Yeah.
Playing Jamie Kennedy in an exhibition.
Yeah.
Remember that in 2K?
Yeah, I remember that 2K5. Yeah, playing Jamie Kennedy. Yep.
Oh goodness. So Tears of the Kingdom is obviously in my top. Probably the top.
Ooh.
Then in really no specific order. I'm at 1.
I'm at 1.
Conker's Bad Fur Day,
Yes.
Banjo Kazooie,
Yes.
Snowboard Kids.
Great pick.
Yes. Which one? Which number
Yes.
kids? 1 or 2?
This
More
kid
one
loves the
than-
N64.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
dude, he loves the
Yes, I do.
N64.
1 probably more than 2, but still I like them both. And then Left 4 Dead, because I had
1 or 2.
just- yes, that one.
Yes.
I can't. That one I can't.
Mm.
Yeah,
that one
just yes.
is. I had so many
So-
freaking nights playing that game with friends that
Yeah.
it was just. I
Question.
I can't pick one.
Question. Did
yes.
Tears of the Kingdom kick Mario 64 off?
Yes, Breath of the Wild did too.
Okay.
I mean,
right. I'm just
mean-
asking because I know that used to be in your top 5.
No, for sure,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, and it's right there. I mean, I love Mario 64. I pretty much love all my 64 games just because that's what I started out on, and
Cool.
I just had a lot of days playing those, and
Yep.
that was when I could actually play games.
It's funny. All the
So-
N64 games, then you see Tears of the Kingdom, then he just slips in Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, right.
Just out of nowhere.
Yep.
Hey, we gotta have some uniqueness on this
Yep.
list.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for 5 there. Just mainly because of they were a lot of games that I'm a gamer who likes to play with other people or watch other people play games. I'm
Couch
kinda
co-op,
weird
baby.
like that. because I'll sit down. How many days did I come over to your house and I just sat and watched you play Zelda?
Stare at me playing video games back then.
Yeah.
Now I'm
I
like,
had
dude,
no
you have your
problem.
own Switch. Play it while I'm playing. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it was more of I had so much fun playing with all my friends back in that day, and my sister, my family, everything like that. Just with those games, that it's just hard to beat that now, because a lot of games you necessarily can't do that.
Nostalgia.
That too.
It's all right. Hey,
I forgot about the Last of Us series. I just got to give that a mention. That's it. That's all.
Here's what I will say. Anyone that uses nostalgia in a negative sense does not understand what the definition of nostalgia is. It's a positive feeling. It's positive affirmations. Nostalgia is not a negative. If someone likes something due to nostalgia, you should say that's awesome. I'm really glad that you can have nostalgia for something, because that's an extremely positive feeling.
I love that feeling. It's kind of neat, like getting that feeling for games that have even come out during the Switch era. Like whenever I look at things, like it's interesting playing Tears of the Kingdom, because it kind of gives me nostalgia for Breath of the Wild, which is kind of funny, even though like given how recent it all is. But it's cool, like looking at. Like I'm just thinking about different Switch games that I have nostalgia for, which is just weird because of how recent it is. But I think that kind of goes to show, one, how long the Switch generation has been, but also I think the games that do give you that nostalgia, they actually they did something to you, right? They left an impact on you. They've permanently kind of.
There's a term for this. It's called instant classic. Something instant classic is where you're creating that happy nostalgic memory in the moment, and you just recognize that this is that moment. That like this is, I mean, that happened with Breath of the Wild. I knew in that moment that this was a nostalgic moment for me, and I'm literally experiencing there's a recognition that this is an all-time classic, and I'm going to be nostalgic about it in the future because I'm having so much fun. Yeah.
I did forget my favorite Switch game of all time on my list, ahead of Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, is it the trumpet game that just came out?
Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Oh, there you go.
You've heard me say it before.
Yeah.
You've brought it up before. So, Sumbro, I have no idea what games you play, so this is going to be interesting. See, I have an idea on Jake. Anderson, I talked a lot. Eric, I literally knew his top 5 before he said it. I was almost shocked that the Super Mario 64 to make the list. I didn't know that wasn't going to happen, but Sumbro,
get ready for a lot of Zelda.
Here we go.
Three of the 5 are Zelda. I'm going to spoil that. I'm going to start at the top because similar to what Jake said, instead of it being Final Fantasy VII, Zelda Ocarina of Time is what made me a gamer. Because I had played games before that. Super Mario All-Stars on the SNES, I really got into. But I had never been so hooked on a game that it's all I could think about when I wasn't playing it. Like my first priority was to get back to riding Epona through Hyrule and finding out what else I could, uncover. And the progression of the dungeons in that game. And I mean, that's why I still want more unique elemental dungeons to this day, because of how epic it was to conquer the forest temple, fire, water, spirit and shadow. To have that whole thing come together the way it did, it's just, and not to mention just what it did for 3D games with Z-lock on targeting, and just if you just look at it for how it progressed the 3D gaming era as a whole, I think that alone makes it stands the reason why it is where it is in the Metacritic score, even though that's not an end-all be-all type of metric. But anyway, Ocarina has to take number 1 just for that particular reason. I would love to slot Majora's Mask side by side with it, but I'm not going to. Just because I think one game does so well what the other one doesn't, and vice versa. And Majora, you get the closer look at the NPCs, and Ocarina of Time, it's more of the broad, grand adventure. But believe it or not, number 2, we're going to leave Majora off this list, even though I absolutely adore that game. Number 2 is actually Wind Waker, because when I first got a GameCube, funnily enough, Wind Waker, I had originally gotten an Xbox after having an N64. And I did not play my Xbox near as much as I thought I would, probably just because of the age that I was at the time. I wasn't quite in the Halo crowd yet. And while I enjoyed a lot of stuff that was on there, the maybe 2 years after the console release. I can't even remember what year it was that I got it, but I want to say it was around the 2-year time frame. Wind Waker, I knew it was a Zelda game that was on GameCube. That's what motivated me to get a GameCube, or ask my mom for that Christmas to get one. And it was on sale for $20 as a player's choice in Walmart. And I bought Wind Waker before I even had a GameCube, knowing that I would get a GameCube that year for Christmas.
I think that the price of the GameCube was down to $99 around the time
that was probably exactly why, like, I got it as a second console, because normally it was like you were getting one game console for whatever, like pick PlayStation or pick, like, that's why you always had the friend that had like the Sega Genesis, or the, they had something you didn't have type of thing. That's at least how it was for me. Anyway, Wind Waker, I studied the box art, the back of the cover, everything before I finally got to play it. And when I did, like, that just cemented me as like, oh yeah, okay, the Zelda franchise, like, apparently I love this series more than anything else I've ever come in contact with, because the story in that game is incredible. It's legitimately therapeutic to sail the open seas and see that cell shaded art style at the time. Like, it was before I was online enough to know that people were talking shit on it constantly, but I legitimately like enjoyed that for a Zelda game, and I thought it looked incredible. I still think that's why that Wind Waker looks more impressive in its HD version now than a lot of games. So that's top 2 Zelda. And then Metroid Prime is number 3. And that's really hard to not put in the number 2 spot. That was a $5 pickup from a game exchange that literally, it was towards me owning the GameCube for a while, and I was just looking for more games to play. And I'm not a 3D first person guy for the most part, like third person all day long, show me my character. But when it comes to like aiming and shooting and first person, just never into that stuff. And still to this day, I don't play first person shooters, like, for the most part. But that lock on targeting and the exploration and the platforming that came along with it, and the constant progression of upgrading, unlocking Samus's new abilities, the puzzle aspect, the backtracking, even to find out like, oh, now I can unlock this door that I couldn't before. Enthralled with that game, like, through and through. Prime Remastered just reignited that. Talk about a nostalgic trip. That was incredible. So that cements it easy at number 3. And it's hard because all these games could easily move around for different reasons. Then Dark Souls 3 is actually, I would say, my most enjoyable Souls game, and it's really close for 1 through 3. But that scratches that itch from like being a kid and not being good enough to like pass a game, and you just have to keep doing it over and over, and you finally get that payoff. Some of the bosses and the fights that you have in that game are so intense that when you finally have the run where you successfully conquer the boss that you were stuck on for, God knows how many tries or hours, like, you have to go to bed angry one night, failing the black dragon that's towards the end of the game, because you can't beat him. And so you come back the next day and try and fail all day the next day, and then you try again and you finally do it. That rush is like at the top of my list of just gaming experiences. And then to round out the list at number 5 is Tears of the Kingdom. And that's hard for me to even put Tears of the Kingdom at number 5. It's incredible. And I mean, the story, it took Zelda to the next level in so many ways. But for like the other reasons, I had to rank it at the bottom of the top 5. But that's still an extremely like selective list. So in Tears of the Kingdom, I actually think we can't even fully appreciate how much it's done in terms of like the open air concept. Like, that is something you really don't see. Like, you can be technically impressed by graphics all day long on the other platforms, but as far as diving off of a sky island and literally being able to go straight into,
it's
like,
very clear when you make that statement that you haven't played Dragon Quest Builders 2, but that's fine. I'm serious.
I'll accept that, because I don't have any experience with that game. In fact, Dragon Quest is a series I actually need to give a chance.
Dragon Quest Builders is more like Zelda Breath of the Wild than it is like Minecraft. It's like
really
Tamagotchi Life mixed with Animal Crossing mixed with Zelda.
Okay.
Except it does a ton of quality life improvements that are better than Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Like, a lot of the new ideas in Tears of the Kingdom came from Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Dang.
Like, you can tell we're like directly. But I'm gonna shut up about it. I just love that. I just want people to give it a chance. I'm not saying to put it in your top 5.
That's a solid argument. That's a solid argument to check it out, honestly.
Yeah, that's my best sales pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, it works. I mean, I
better than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. That's the top 5. I keep going forever if you let me, but I'm not going to be Andres and do 6.67. No.
I mean, we all talked for a while.
No, I'm joking.
Eric the most.
Yeah, Eric had the most going on. He was talking.
I actually think a 6 through 10 would be more interesting than a 1 through 5 list.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Well, look,
you get some more widespread
I heard
picks.
through the grapevine. I was text messaged by Nintendo Prime himself. He wanted to ask top 10.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he figured that might take up like 3 hours of conversation.
I mean, that should be its own podcast.
Yeah, that's like an entire.
Maybe we do a
Hour
6 through 10
dedicated
next week. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I
And
don't know.
that's when you tell the chat to put their
Wait till we
top
go
10
through every
in the
system of all
comments.
time and go top 10 every system. Go.
Oof.
You know, it'd be an even more interesting list. Give a top 5 of games that are not in your top 10. Which I guess is 11 through 15.
Top 15.
Yeah, and then you're
Yeah,
just I
that's
had to think about that.
That's a weird way to say 11. That's not keeping it clean.
Yeah.
That's keeping it convoluted.
That's a little convoluted, a little dirty.
15 through 10. Heck yeah.
Joycey J chiming in with a 5. First off, Joycey, thank you so much.
I guess the idea I was just trying to get at is just like think about good games that people aren't talking about that much.
Yeah,
Like Dragon
Top
Quest
20, got it.
yeah,
Yeah, like
Builders
Dragon Quest
too.
Builders 2.
Dude,
Or
honestly,
like No
if we
More
had it-
Heroes 3.
I will say this: if we had, we could do a top 20 someday, and we can kind of like breeze through a top 5. Like we don't have to really explain it because we already did it.
What
But
about
it
like
would
a
be
top
interesting
Switch
if
games
ahead
list?
of time, I let you guys know, hey, we're gonna make this a topic next week. If you want to put your list together, that way you guys get more time than just
Know
be-
what would actually be kind of cool? You guys, now that you mentioned that, just 1 or 2 games that are in, maybe it's even in your top 10, but it's like my pick, Dragon Quest Builders 2, where they are just more obscure. Like they wouldn't be in most top 10 lists that you see. Maybe we could send you a few of ours, Nate, and then you pick a
Age of
couple for us
Empires
to talk
2.
about.
Naruto Clash of Ninja.
See? Yeah, stuff like that. I like that.
Captain
good.
Skyhawk.
I
Magic.
don't know what that is.
Captain Skyhawk on the NES.
64?
No,
Return
NES.
to
NES.
Zora.
Okay.
See, but that's
No,
the value of it, right? We're like, wait, what's that? And now we want to know.
Return to Zora.
Exactly.
Anyways,
Did you take a shot for that, Joycey J?
yes, I did. I just did it. Joycey J said, question for the Zelda fans: what's your favorite song? Well, I mean, come on. Do any of us like Zelda? I don't know. I'm not sure. What's your favorite song and/or score from the Zelda series, and why is it the Dragon Roost theme? That is her favorite.
That's a solid
Oh,
pick. I'll
it's
give
a
her
great
that. That
pick.
is
Yeah, it's hard to fault
that's
that
up
one.
there.
Let's go. What do you guys got? What's your favorite? Pick one. Hard to pick one.
It's
hard.
very hard to pick one. 'cause
Zelda's
they're all so
Lullaby for
good.
me.
When you think
I-
Zelda music, what's the
exact
first
same
thing that
thing.
pops in your mind? Like
Zelda's Lullaby still gives me goosebumps to this day when I hear it. When it's played, like the OG track. There's been a few different videos I've made about the Ocarina of Time PC port, and I'll use it as the background. And I'm editing the video, and I'm literally like, "Oh, hang on, I have goosebumps here. Let me, like this
Calm down
is,
a moment.
yeah, it's awesome."
Nice.
That was mine as
Just-
well.
Zelda's Lullaby.
Yeah. I mean, I
Listen.
also like Epona's. So
Oh,
Those
the-
are all amazing.
great picks.
Those are
Great.
all amazing. But I'm gonna be real with you guys. Like the music that's been stuck in my head over the last few months has been Tears of the Kingdom music. Like I think about Raru's theme,
Mm.
like it just plays in my head. It's so good. Can we play Raru's theme? Can we play it right now? Is that
No.
possible?
no.
No. Oh.
So then I gotta play everyone's, and then we're just sitting
Oh,
here.
yeah, but it's so good.
Yeah,
it's not long. It's only like 2
for
minutes.
you, I will put it as the outro music on the audio version.
Okay.
I'll
Watch
let
the
it,
audio
I'll let
version.
the whole thing play. The whole song.
Okay. Right. They're just the music design in Tears of the Kingdom is just so good. Like
Yeah.
when you dive down,
Yeah,
especially the
depth.
first time.
Wow.
That part,
sound.
but I was just thinking from the sky, right? When you're
Mm.
coming down from the sky and then it changes as you land. But when you go through the depths and the horn, oh, that's just crazy.
So final
but-
answer, Raru's theme.
Well, maybe Raru's theme, but also what the theme that plays when at the last gameplay moment of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not saying what because I don't want to spoil
Yeah,
it, but
that's heavy.
the last gameplay moment of Tears of the Kingdom. There's no spoilers. There's no spoilers, right? But the music that plays then and how it adapts and changes is just so
It's good.
Yep.
it's
Agreed.
magical. It is magical.
So, which song then is number one?
I have
First
no
song-
idea what that one's
First song
called.
that comes to mind. That you said Raru's theme. So I feel like
That's currently the song that literally plays in
all
my
right.
brain
So it pops in your
sometimes.
mind. Got it.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you
as of
got?
late.
Honestly, my favorite, I can't like think of like one favorite, but for me, like the music that like comes to mind whenever I think of Zelda, as much as I love Tears of the Kingdom, is Ocarina of Time. And I
Yep.
think that just goes to show what a good game it is. It's funny you said Zelda's Lullaby. I would
Yeah,
think like
no,
some of the
Zelda's
temples
great.
would be my
Bolero's
favorite.
Fire.
The temple themes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the one? Yeah.
I
where
think
you
the fire
tell-
is the one with the chanting, right?
Yes,
Ooh.
but
That's Jade's one.
not the song you
Yeah,
play,
that's
but they
one
do
that
have the
changes
chanting in
because
the
it's controversial.
background.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't mean.
Oh,
the,
I got you. The
I don't
themes
mean
to the
Ocarina of
dungeon. I
Time.
was thinking of the
Yes.
teleport themes to get you to the dungeons.
Yeah, those are
Oh
so
right,
good.
gotcha.
Because the one to get you to the spirit temple, that would be that's a close.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a close one.
Fair.
Bolero Fire. Let's listen to it.
So there's a lot of songs that pop in my head. My favorite has typically always been the final song in Spirit Tracks during the Malladus fight. So good. All the instruments coming together in that moment. Oh, it's just great. But
Oh,
Recency
I know
bias.
what song. It's
Recency
from
bias.
Ocarina of Time. It's the Gerudo.
Grudo's Valley.
Gerudo Valley. Yeah.
That's
Oh my
great.
god. Yeah. Top tier.
Okay.
Um,
That's my favorite.
Recency
do gotta
bias
say-
is the thing. Colgaro's theme is my current favorite
Oh.
on repeat Zelda song.
I would also like to make a solid argument for Song of Healing.
It is so good.
Oh,
And when
Song
that
of Healing.
drop happened, that drop is insane. I don't even want. If you haven't sat down and just listened to Colgaro's theme, it has a drop in it that if you are a Wind Waker fan, it's gonna drive you nuts. Like just in pure bliss when they drop it. It's so
that
good.
was my first boss fight, major boss fight. No, it's like, oh yeah, this is when I got to that moment, I was like, oh yeah, it's the best game ever made. Like that,
Mhm.
that was my thought when I got to that moment.
Yeah, because like
So
you're
good.
listening to it, and it's like this is actually a pretty good beat. Cool, I like it. I like it because it's kind of repetitive for a bit. All of a sudden, it just brings that drop, and you're like, "What just happened?"
Well, the
Whoa.
entire dungeon's music is good.
Yeah. But it's just that boss music just really caught me off guard when they did that drop. I was like, "No way, they didn't just do that." This literally is one. I was live streaming, guys. I literally said this is my favorite moment in gaming ever. In that moment. The drop happens, the fight's going on. I've been dreaming of soaring through the air to fight. Oh man, it was so good. And I'm like, by the way, it's not even a hard boss fight, but it didn't matter. It was so fun.
Can I ask you
Oh,
how you
fun.
beat the boss fight? There's a right way and a wrong way.
There's no right or wrong ways in Tears
Yeah,
of the
no.
Kingdom.
There's a right way and a wrong
There's
way.
no right or wrong ways.
There is
in
a
Tears.
way that's really freaking cool, and there's a way that's kind of like, yeah, that's what most people do.
He probably did the second one.
I probably did the second one. Hey, shoot arrows and break the shit. What are we talking about?
Yeah, no, you're supposed
Someone
to
in the
dive through
chat
it.
said
I did dive
they
through.
missed the ability to use instruments in Zelda games.
The
and I
problem
will
with I dive
say,
through was when I already broke, so I didn't do it.
one
You
one thing that
guys-
I thought was really cool in Tears of the Kingdom is the side, again, no spoilers, but the side quest with musicians and how once
Hmm.
you're all done, the full band is together every time you go to a certain location.
Mhm.
That was a really cool thing.
Nice. We had a $2 one come in, just sort of a statement, then a question. I want to see a Square remake Chrono Trigger. I think
It's
every
gonna
person
happen.
on the
I think it'll
planet
happen.
wants to see that happen someday. Like I don't know
There's
how it
like,
has.
no, it's shocking it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
I feel like they're
it's
just
one of the-
saving.
They
What?
literally just announced, I think, this month that they're going to be paying attention to a lot of their dormant IPs to try to bring them
And
back.
like this is why Chrono Trigger is widely considered by many to be one of the best JRPGs ever. The fact that it hasn't been remade at this point is baffling. Even like an
Yeah.
HD 2D with that being so
And they
popular.
can kind of, if they wait till after Super Mario RPG comes out, they can kind of use that to build up hype for Chrono Trigger. Because I mean, they came out, very close. They're very similar.
True.
We just got Sea of Stars. It's supposed to be like a spiritual successor to
Yeah,
it.
Sea of Stars.
Yeah, I started that. I have put it
I'm
down for
supposed
2
to
weeks.
start
now,
it.
though.
It's loaded on my Switch, and I'm just keep
Same.
watching Suits instead.
It's happening.
Yeah.
We have another $5 one coming in, so I got another shot to do here from J2 Blue in the Sky saying favorite box arts for games on Switch. Now that's a topic that doesn't come up often.
I have the correct
Oh.
answer for this, and I would like to see anybody prove me wrong.
We'll have to show these.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, just hands down. If you just look at the box art, it's just Nintendo and all of its history at its finest. And they all look
it
like
doesn't
they're
include the DLC characters. That's my counter argument.
well, but what does? You know what I mean? Like
I know.
until Nintendo makes that, it's not going to be.
know.
I think
It'll
when
be
it
added
comes to
to
Switch games,
2 with the Ultimate Edition.
as in true, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate
Or I
Deluxe.
Yeah, it has to be Deluxe Edition. Yeah, I can't use
Yeah.
Ultimate.
Yeah,
And it includes
Ultimate.
it includes like 5 more characters as well.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that'd be cool.
nice.
I think that's my favorite.
So top Switch box art. I think Jake's going to go literally grab it and show it.
I think this is where I expose myself because I've downloaded too many of my Switch games. I'm trying to think. Oh. Huh.
Having a hard time thinking.
Yeah, I'm not good at it.
I'm not good at thinking. Oh man, so I keep thinking of all the box arts because a lot of my physical collection is gone now
I'll be back.
because of 2019. So I'm like trying to think what's my favorite. There's some that pop into my mind. Let's see here, box art Switch games. I'm trying to remember exactly which one I'm thinking of. So just give me a second. I feel like
Ooh, I'm looking at it, and Link's Awakening looks pretty crispy too.
yeah,
That's
Link's
really-
Awakening one was nice.
Yep, that's
Link's
awesome.
Awakening one was really nice. You know what to me, and maybe this is just the nostalgia talking. I really love the Metroid Dread box art.
Oh yeah, that's
The Metroid Dread box art is so good. I mean, I know there's nostalgia kick with that, saying Metroid Dread, but dude, I'm gonna try to show that box art actually right now. Anyone who maybe hasn't played it, if you haven't played it, what's wrong with you?
That's neat.
Dread, amazing.
Oh, that's yeah.
So I'm gonna see if I can get
So,
the screen share to work.
oh yeah, I got that special edition. This is the regular Dragon Quest.
I knew he was gonna go to builders. I knew it was gonna happen.
But it's reversible, so I have it flipped out, so it's like the old.
Ah.
There you go.
There it is.
That's awesome. That's not usual. So that's pretty
That's
good.
keeping it clean, boys.
It is.
That's keeping it clean.
All right. I got mine. It is
Oh, it's the blank.
Yeah.
GameStop
It-
special.
it's
Nintendo
Nintendo Labo
Labo.
toy con set.
Do you
Look
actually
how-
think it's the best?
No, I'm just trolling.
Oh, okay. Hey, some people like super simple, so
It
it's,
is.
you know.
That is about as
Yeah,
simple
if
as it
you're
gets.
into like the minimalist style, that probably is the best
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nintendo Switch
Yeah,
box art.
it's pretty good.
Or
Um,
any GameStop case that's a replacement. That has the title. You're good to go. Anyways,
I do think this is not, I wouldn't say it's the best, but Bayonetta
Ah.
3 is
Bayonetta 3
pretty.
is nice.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's
They
pretty
did a
good.
good job. Yeah, I would also. Breath of the Wilds, like this, just feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just don't count it.
Right.
Why don't you count
It
it?
literally would have been my number one. I don't
Right.
count it because I view it as a Wii U game.
Switch.
Still don't count it.
No, I still
Is
don't
this a
count it.
Switch box?
Again, box art.
Switch
I only
box?
count the outside. I know it's a very good
It's not
outside.
fair.
It's a very good outside. I know.
Oh, by the way, I think because I have this back, this shows that I got it as a collector edition
Yeah,
version.
that's the collector's edition version.
Ah.
Yep, that is collector's edition only with that back.
Mm.
Let's see.
I like Luigi's
I
Mansion.
can't
3.
believe
Oh,
that
that
Andre didn't choose Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Luigi
Yeah,
Mansion
yeah.
3.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good box art too.
Oh yeah, Xenoblade 2 is pretty sick.
Nope, you're already.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
you're already.
You're already.
I'm
There
just
you go.
showing yours. I'm just
You
showing
love
it for
the
you.
inside art. That's
Oh,
what
maybe I'm thinking of the special edition because I thought it was.
You know, where
they grab a
that's, the same,
screenshot
that's
from
essentially
the
the same in Xenoblade 1, right? And 3.
I don't know. Not sure. I have this one's neat. It's just kind of cool because so Hyrule Definitive Edition, right, has a map.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Dun,
that's
dun, dun.
that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Nice. Yeah, Paul Gale Network wanted to give his top 5 quick. He used his member chap to do it. Breath of the Wild at 1, Ocarina of Time at 2, Super Mario 64 at 3, Street Fighter 2 at number 4, Metroid Prime at number 5, and then he had to have honorable mentions. Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario World, Resident Evil 4 deserve top spot.
Ooh. Mario World, that's another game that Super Mario World back in the day. Oh man, so good. That's a good list.
Problem is, as more games comes out, it just becomes increasingly more and more unfair to have a top 5.
It's a solid argument.
I feel like we should just talk about, like, it's easier to talk about top 5s per system.
Yeah, that I agree too. That does.
Even then, it's
still hard though, especially whenever we're like in the Switch era.
The Switch era is still ongoing, but like, yeah, I think Metroid Dread. I don't know. Even then, it's tough. Should do it per genre, per system.
Oh, here we go. All right, I think that's gonna wrap.
Dragon Quest Builders 2 clears like 4 genres.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap up our show this week. That was episode 39 of the Nintendo Prime Podcast, season 2. That means next week's episode 40. Dang, does that even matter? Is 40 a number we celebrate?
The podcast will become a man.
I don't even.
It's 40.
You said the numbers didn't matter earlier.
Yeah, I know. Like the numbers shouldn't matter. But that's anniversary. So it's different. So then, okay. Well, I mean, age is just a number, right?
Let me know when we get to 69. Okay.
So I'm like,
I'm gonna ask.
Like I'm 37, but I'm actually probably more like 17. That's why I don't keep it clean. My problem. Too young to keep
it clean.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's go around the room, tell people who you are, where they can find you, and what you got going on. We'll start with Jake Randall finally using his name. He got rid of the 2-inch.
Well, this is my stage name. My real name is 2-Inch Destroyer, also known as the Keeping It Clean guy. And I just want to say, keep it clean, boys. Keep it clean.
There was Mr. Clean over there.
And also that 2 inches are more than enough.
And you can find him at Jake Randall on
YouTube,
Twitter, and
OnlyFans.
2-Inch Destroyer on OnLifans.
2-Inch Destroyer on OnlyFans. Yeah. Probably to just go with just 2-inch. Well, maybe it was already taken. Couldn't have been taken. I'll just restart. What you got going on? Where can they find you?
Andres Restart. You search that, you'll find my YouTube channel. You'll see Nintendo videos every day.
Heck yeah. Eric, where can they find you?
Right here. And on Twitter. I'm not calling
it. It's
X,
baby.
X.
We don't tweet anymore. We post.
I don't give a shit. It's Twitter.
We post and repost.
At emo8790.
You post and you watch X videos.
No, it's not X videos. It's just videos now.
Yeah, they copped out. Lame.
They couldn't handle the comparative. You know what?
They couldn't handle the heat.
Here's the thing. They bitched out. Let's just be honest.
True.
They had an awesome meme. They could have ran with it for years. They bitched out. Sucks.
Couldn't agree more.
Also might have been copyright issues because maybe that might be copyrighted. It might be copyrighted. I don't know. I don't know if those sites bother to copyright or anything, but if they do, they might be copyrighted.
Advertisers probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Let me run ads on X videos. Yeah, that's gonna look great on the balance sheet. Sunbro Nation, what do you got going on? Where can they find you?
Yep, Sunbro Nation on everything. X, YouTube primarily, but if you want to reach me, honestly, formerly Twitter is where I'm hanging out the most. As far as just ease of access, but 6 videos per week. I sometimes 7. It's rare, and all Nintendo focused news stories and everything that's going on in gaming.
That's right. And I swear, Sunbro and Andres, give them a year, because of Switch 2, they're going to be bigger than I am. Which is hard because I'm 3 inches. But
way more than necessary.
Way more than necessary.
Really, anything more than a few centimeters is probably more than you need. But
I mean, I'd say like 1.25 inches is solid, but 2 inches is more than enough.
Whatever gets the job done. They say the size isn't what matters. So
it's not about getting the job; it's about destroying.
That's what they say, and then they invent things like this, and then you start to question yourself. Anyways, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Robert from Nintendo Prime. You can check out Nintendo Prime. Pretty much just type in Google. A bunch of stuff will pop up. Hopefully, mostly good things. I don't know. There's probably some bad things out there too. There's memes of me telling people to F off. That happened during a live stream once. It is what it is. I am who I am. I'm not ashamed of it. You guys can also get the audio version of this podcast everywhere podcasts are heard. officially beginning the day after, because finally I'll pay the bill on the damn audio version, so we can actually get like 5 episodes up rapid fire. Sorry, I let that bill lapse and I didn't pay any attention to it. And then I every time I go to upload, I'm like, oh, I probably should pay that. And that day, I just happened to not have the money in the bank every time I remembered to check. I don't know what's wrong with me. I probably should just prepay for a year and be done with it. But you know what?
You're a
That's not my
YouTuber. You're not
style.
rich.
That's not my style. I'm a YouTuber. I ain't rich. And the fact that I couldn't come up with $14 out of nowhere means I'm definitely not rich. So
Even though you're in the top like half percentage.
what's the 100K percent? I'm technically even higher because I'm 131.
Like
and then Jake over there, he's just look
top
the Switch
point
2 might push him over 200K if he's
percentile.
doing pre-order streams for that.
No, gosh.
Possibly. Because he's already known. He's known as the man to go to if you want to get pre-orders.
True.
I mean, come on. We're on like NBC or something? I don't even know.
I'm pretty
Sure.
scared.
Yeah.
Like I
Was
there's
it-
no
what-
way
was
I
it-
have to have
I don't
Switch
even
2
know
on
what
day
was going
one.
on.
There's
Well,
no
it's on
way.
NBC twice. Once for the Today Show and once for just NBC Tonight.
Cool. And
But
now you have
I'm here for prime time right now. I'm here for Nintendo Prime.
Over 100,000 is 99.7.
the top 0.3%,
Bless you.
everyone.
Oh,
Bless
man.
you.
Bless you.
I hope I'm in the
I'm
top
allergic to
0.2%.
success.
That's
You
perfect.
are probably.
What's the? How many you got?
He's like 175 or something. Something
Something like that, yeah.
I remember when I took those tests back in elementary school, and they told me I was in the top 1%.
Top 1%. I'm even
Yeah.
higher. Sorry, man.
Yeah, can't get
1
there.
million or more is 99.97%.
99.97. Well,
At 1
none
million
of
or
us
more.
are at a mill. So,
Yeah.
so thanks for the irrelevant
Hey,
statistic.
you know,
That was
I
that really meant a lot. Yeah, Jake was
One
asking
day.
me that.
One day.
One day.
There.
It's in between there. It's in between 0.03% and 3%. Somewhere in there. You said 0.97. That's
Yeah.
0.3.
0.3 and
And you
3.
said I'm 3. Oh, we're 100K. Technically, I'm higher than 100K, so I'm even higher than 3%. But anyways, doesn't really matter. What matters is, do you love your life? And I do. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys in the next podcast next week. Bye.
I
Peace.
guess.